Good afternoon and welcome, everybody. This would be the Jeff Cameron Show right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio on a fine Ballsmick Wednesday. To you and yours, I'm Jeff, that's Tom. We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you go to listen live via the streaming free. Always, if you miss portions of the program, do not worry about it because you can find it afterwards. We're on iTunes. We're placed nightly in the audio vault on the webpage, and it's also on the WTSM app. You can email the program if you like. It's jcs@979espnradio.com. And I would note that you can watch on YouTube as well. Hello, YouTubers. Good to have you on board. ESPN Tallahassee on YouTube. So we remain stagnant here. Doesn't look like anything's going to come about other than the news. And I'll have to credit Knowles247 here that they've moved up the timetable for Willie Taggart and to the in-home visit there with Sam Howell. Seems like a good idea. Willie will have to pull off kind of maybe not a miracle, but certainly pull off something that we didn't think as of yesterday was really likely, and that would be to get Sam to commit. And then again, if you're Sam Howell, I mean, there are other places to go, but they're not without their own problems. And I would say this, Tom, you really want to go to North Carolina? They just hired Mac Brown. Okay.
Right. I think we have a counter pitch to that. Yes.
Yeah, I'd say. So if Larry Fedora were there, then we'd be screwed, right? But he's not. So that helps. And then, I mentioned yesterday that there had been rumblings that Miami was going to try to sneak in, and I don't know how true that is or isn't, but they've got a rather sizable set of problems as well right now because everybody who can decommit is, and people on the roster aren't exactly happy either.
I mean, you could be our quarterback, but I don't know who you're throwing to, but we'll figure that out in time. That's Mark Richt's pitch.
Man, I'm thinking about that last night when we were talking about it yesterday, that come on, Mark. I mean, I'm glad he's failing, and I'm glad they aren't taking the steps forward that you thought they would coming off of last year. They certainly took a big step backwards. They have no forward momentum here. It's just kind of surprising because I thought the one thing that he would be able to do, and this is what concerned me, was that he would be able to go and put up the so-called fence around South Florida, being that he was from down there, played down there, and had the ties to those areas and those coaches, he could speak to the people there as an informed citizen, right? Somebody who lived down there and understands the landscape. But that ain't happening. Thank goodness.
The interesting thing I found today in that 24/7 report was not just that they moved up the visit and David Kelly is going with Willie Taggart instead of a new offensive coordinator because we don't have one yet, but that the current belief is that Sam Howell would stick with his commitment to the Seminoles. It's not just that it's a 50-50 or North Carolina is currently the leader. It looks like he's going to stick with his commitment to the Noles, and you might say, so what? I mean, there's a long way to go. There's only 2 weeks to go. This is an early signing period commit here, and that period is December 19th through the 21st.
That's right.
So you got 2 weeks of work to do if you're another institution trying to sway this kid away. It's a big afternoon for Florida State and its recruiting class because this is the kid who's calling other kids and saying, come to Florida State.
Well, that's important. It's not like, I don't want to disparage the kid, but I'll say he's not a Jameis-level recruit. So it's not like you lose this guy, you've lost Fields, or you've lost, in our case, Winston. But you've lost a guy that we think can run the offense and has been committed for a long time and been a rah-rah cheerleader type for you. And that hurts. Obviously, I don't think you can go into next season with DeAndre Francois as your quarterback. And that's the other thing out there that we haven't really discussed at length is what if he decides to come back? I don't think Willie's going to kick him off the team. So
no, clearly not. We'll just keep starting him, apparently, if he's here.
So, but I don't know, how that conversation works. I don't know if he wants to come back. I don't know if Willie would want him back, but he certainly has the option to come back. You hear all the rumors that Florida State's in on a potential grad transfer. Okay, yes, please. There are a few out there that I'm fine with. Obviously, Bryant was not going to come to Tallahassee, being that he was at Clemson. I don't think. I think he has enough respect for the program. And what are the rules on that?
I don't know. I mean, he was slapping high fives with North Carolina fans like the next week after he said he was transferring.
A very strange situation there.
He was there in the end zone just celebrating with the kids and taking selfies with them and all that kind of stuff while Clemson's playing a football game. Pretty bizarre.
Yeah, real strange. Anyhow, he's off to Missouri, and that seems like that could work for him and for them, and that's fine. And this makes for an interesting offseason that's different than the ones we used to have. People, just going wherever they want to go. Put your name in the recruiting portal. Hey, come on, talk to me, which is really crazy. It's fantastic. Especially when you're on the other end here and you desperately need a guy.
It's the Craigslist for college kids who want to go somewhere else.
I'm in the portal. Talk to me. Let's go to the portal this morning. Who do we have? All right, look at that. The Tate kids in the portal.
Yeah, so that means that a college coaching staff and support staff has to have a portal guy.
Yeah, you got to have – I'd like to be the portal guy. That sounds like a fun job. That's better than the get-back guy. I like the portal guy. You get to get up every morning, get your coffee, get your typing fingers ready. All right, we're going in the portal. What do we got? Oh, didn't expect to see your name in the portal. All right.
What's my job? You just hit F5. You refresh the page all day long.
Up, look at that. Jerry Smith's in the portal. Make that call. Let's go.
We want to be the first on all of these kids. So if we're second – and because you didn't update the portal every 3 minutes,
you're fired.
You're fired.
Fun job. Portal guy. Well, it's always fun. It's like going on eBay or something and looking for a rare team shirt or something like that. Oh, they do have the 79 painter's cap from the Pirates. That's fantastic. So what do I need? A right guard. Well, what right guards are in the portal? Let's see what we got here. Look at that. We got a right guard in the portal from Michigan. I bet he can block. Let's check him out.
I think we need a sounder for the portal. There has to be
one. A center from Wisconsin. Yes, please. I'll put my bid in. He's in the portal, coach. We got to get on Wilson. He's in the portal. I had heard that rumor. A wide receiver from South Florida. All right, he's in the portal. What a day. Today's portal search really was. So, I don't know. It does add to the offseason conversation. And you certainly need these things to add to the offseason conversation when your team is not previewing in a bowl. You can't talk about the bowl game. You can't talk about the matchup, what it means or doesn't mean. Again, most of these don't mean much if you're not in the college football playoff. We've certainly noted over the years that the playoff system, if you will, and the former BCS and all of that kind of rendered these other bowls obsolete as nothing more than glorified exhibition games, which is why, in turn, fast forward to where we are now, you get what we get, which is teams' best players saying, yeah, no, I'm good, not going to play in that bowl game. Going to take it on down the road. Ed Oliver saying, yeah, not going to do it. Lots of guys now coming out and saying, not going to do it. And I get it. It sucks. It's not cool. You wish it didn't happen, but you also completely have to understand that a guy's got a chance to make life-changing money for he and his family, and he's going to risk it to do what? Play in your exhibition game in San Antonio? No thanks. It's tough, man. And it doesn't – I think the problem with that is that, when you're hardcore and you played team sports, and most people listening to this show love sports, probably played sports, were involved in it in some form or another, man, you love the idea of laying it on the line for your teammates and for one another and the blood, sweat, and tears, and that you would never leave them high and dry. But most of us were never in a position to be confronted with the idea of making millions of dollars so long as we're healthy come draft day.
Yeah, they're playing for something different than you're playing for.
Yeah, but a lot
if you're at the Y, you're playing for a different reason.
I'm picking Johnny up, and we're going to go back out there and get our run in, damn it. I don't care that my quad's cramping up. That's not the teammate I am. No, that's not the same situation. This guy's got a chance to make $9 million. He grew up dirt poor. And you want him to play in the FedEx whatever.
Well, it would be like, okay, so a ratings book is coming up, sir, right? And you have to take this month off. And if you do and don't do another radio show, we're going to cut you a check for $2.5 million guaranteed.
Guess I'm not doing that radio show.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and take my chances. and my $2.5 million.
Where's your commitment to ESPN Tallahassee, sir?
It's going to be great, right? I've got a commitment within reason. That's about that. Buckeyes are seeing some prospects decommit after Urban Meyer said, have a good day. I know that Ohio State fans painted yesterday's hiring of Ryan Day as something they had to do. They were going to lose Ryan Day. And if you did a national search for the best possible coach for Ohio State, I don't think Ryan Day is the name that's coming up. Now, you know, Tom Herman was well thought of as well. And it's not that these guys can't coach. It's just that that's Ohio State. So I am surprised that they didn't hold off for a second or two to find out that maybe we can do better than Ryan Day.
The theory must be that the way the machine worked when Urban was out of it
That's
for a little
correct.
while was
That's
so
correct.
efficient that, you know what, let's just keep going.
Well, let's keep on keeping on. He did a good job in a mess of a season in which the head coach, created the ultimate distraction from his actions and also disconnected to the university and its athletic department employees and, made it about himself and then created stressors that clearly impacted the kids because they played poorly given the talent. Now, they did keep winning games, and to their credit, I suppose. And that, I guess, ultimately is to his credit because they weren't winning games by showing up and dominating with their defense for a stretch there. It was about the scoring. So, Day comes in and becomes that guy. But that's interesting. It means that other big names like Campbell at Iowa State and others that you kind of wonder about.
The interesting thing is, okay, so he gets $4 million a year, which is nothing compared to what they were paying Urban Meyer, of course. Does that mean that he gets 1 year? Like, let's just say they go 9-3 next season and they get blown out by Michigan and I know, right? Stop the press. But it's a bad season by Ohio State standards of late. Does that mean that because he has no bona fides, if Campbell's available next season, that this was a 1-year experiment?
Well, this is interesting to me too, Tom, because universities routinely allow themselves to be bent over a barrel by agents and this pressing need to react in a way that sometimes I think is a bit overzealous, a little bit too premature. And there's this sense that they feel the weight and the clock ticking, and oftentimes like, what's the hurry here? You're going to be all right. You're Ohio State. You can get now. I understand with the early signing period there. You risk potentially, if things aren't stabilized, missing out on big-time recruits. But in terms of signing guys to multi-year deals, you're right. I mean, but that's where you see a lot of times, like, who are you negotiating against? What are you doing here? And you do see that a lot. When you read 4 years and such and such $1 million, I'm like,
I know it worked for Lincoln Riley, but that doesn't mean that you're Lincoln Riley necessarily.
And Lincoln Riley has done a great job, obviously, and that offense hums with him there. If Lincoln can find a way to get somebody to get a stop every now and again, they'll really be rolling, although they did play well against Texas. But
he should hire Saban.
I do wonder now if Hugh Freeze is on his way to Alabama. We see where Loxley moves on. Sort of a state of college football to start the show today. He goes on to Maryland, and the thought would be that Hugh Freeze, if he could, would move on to Alabama. I think that's certainly what he would want to do. And, we talked through this yesterday. There's a lot of status quo from where we were yesterday to where we are now. There's just rumor. There's just thought that, Kendall Briles may be a candidate. I feel lukewarm on that as well because the last name Briles associated with Art Briles, who's a scumbag piece of garbage, and then Hugh Freeze, who is a liar and unethical and any number of other things we could describe about him. Both, certainly a good coach, but there's weight and there's baggage with guys. And again, maybe it's unfair of me to group Kendall Briles in there. I probably shouldn't. He was on that Baylor staff, which, as we all read, guilty of and complicit with ignoring a lot of things.
Well, yes, as you said, he's the son of the devil, and he was on that staff for the entirety, it would seem, of the issues that they had.
And I don't know how much he knew and didn't know, and that's why maybe it's unfair. I mean, he certainly was there. He was in the den of iniquity, if you will, but I don't know what he knew and didn't know. He would be awfully young and would not have had a say one way or the other there. That would have been his father and others above him, but he is now extremely well thought of and somebody that Willie has worked with in the past. Not worked with, but went to visit and see how they implemented their offense there at Baylor. And so you got to have somebody come in here, and you'd like somebody that has a little bit of weight, a little gravitas to their name, perhaps recruiting prowess as we're talking about. At the same time, I feel like there are a lot of good coaches out there, and the early signing period changes things, though. And you do feel the pressure, as I was just talking about with Ohio State. I just don't – this is a pivotal time for Willie and for the program, and you got to get it right. And I feel rushed, and there's a reason for that. But at the same time, I don't want us to be pressured into overpaying for somebody who comes with baggage when there are other guys out there who may not have the same name associated or recognition associated with their name as many others, but nonetheless may not be right.
Well, I wonder what this means for the timeline, the idea that, or the fact that Willie is moving up the visit with Howell from Thursday to today, and he's bringing David Kelly along with him. I would think if you were close to hiring an offensive coordinator, you might ask for next week or something along those lines. Now, the kid's schedule may be something where you got to get in now or you're not going to get in at all. But it would seem to suggest to me, if you're moving the visit up, that you don't think there's any hire imminent.
Well, and I wonder, yesterday I said this. I thought ultimately in a situation like this, you have we were talking about the Josh Ball scenario. And there are a lot of layers to that, but Josh Ball's free to go play football. We're not taking football off the plate. He just doesn't have to play football here. I didn't think it was a good idea to bring him back. Based on what we've read with the incident report and the injunction and all that stuff, we thought, that's not a good look. You don't want to do that. Not after you've espoused a certain way of doing things and how that was going to be different and, all of that. But along those lines, Tom, I thought, President Thrasher has a great say in all this too, and he is. I trust him. He's a guy that's done a real good job in these situations, protecting the university, I think, and I would imagine that he would have to have. Certainly, he's going to have say in the Josh Ball situation, but I would think too that with a name like Hugh Freeze at the time, I thought, I wonder if he would weigh in here, if he wouldn't suggest that we be better off just taking the high road here and moving on and maybe looking elsewhere. It would see that I don't want to speak for the man. I have not spoken to him on this issue. I don't
what it
know.
would do is, at the very least, bring into question what is our motivation for university culture and program culture, and it would be the mixed message thing.
Yeah, it would be a mixed message thing, but I wondered what it would look like long term, just like you did. We had that conversation. Well, what's the end game here? Is he here for a year? Well, we have to guarantee ourselves that that's not the case. Would have had to been 2 years. Can you really guarantee that? I don't know. Also, are you, in essence, bringing in a guy that if it doesn't work out, maybe is the next coach here, and do we really want him to be the next coach at Florida State University? Well, the answer is resounding no.
You're inviting that discussion, too, if he's a former head coach, and let's say the offense hums, but the defense still sucks this year, something along those lines. But if it was only for 1 year and you're 5-7, you don't have an offensive line, why would you pay $1.5 million to a guy who's a really good offensive mind, but that we can't block it up for?
Well, right, because no matter who you bring in and what their philosophy is and their ability to coach it up and call plays, it really is irrelevant if you can't block. And that's true of any offense, any system, any coach, anywhere. You can't block, you can't win. I don't care. You run pro style. I don't care. You run spread, you run tempo, or you don't. Snail's pace, fastest offense in the country, spread them out, power, whatever it might be, doesn't make a damn bit of difference.
Given the names and given his comments in the month of November about returning to what it is we want to do around here, offensively speaking, there is no doubt the top priority for Willie Taggart is pace.
Yeah, he wants to play fast. He wants to play fast. And in the midst of all this, no matter who it is we hire, let's say that they're in accordance with that mandate, if you will, the real developing story here, and I know everybody gets excited about names, and I do too, but the real developing story here is Willie's willingness to hand over the reins after 1 year, to say, all right, bigger fish to fry. I got to really hunker down and get this organization where it needs to be and create the culture that I failed to create in year one, that I'm desirous of. And I got to flip this roster, and I got to be able to oversee everything.
Yeah. It's an interesting approach because go back to Jimbo and how he started. Bringing a lot of recruiters, maybe some guys who could oversee operations, especially in practice, but not really. He micromanaged everything.
Oh, and he looked like he was about to die.
And he said, you guys go recruit, I'll micromanage this whole program. Whereas Willie's saying, and call the offense and
I'll
manage
call
the
the
quarterbacks.
Offense. I'll coach
and
the quarterbacks. I'll conduct the practices. I'll be the madman that does it all.
And if you were out there for any of those, like I was on the beat in those days before they started closing things down, I mean, if you were lined up wrong in walkthrough, he'd yell at the graduate assistants or the player. I mean,
no. He was, he had a
taskmaster to the finest detail.
Right.
Whereas Willie is taking the approach of, I'm going to empower other people to do that. I'm going to be CEO, be on both practice fields.
Well, he's doing that now. Now he is.
Now, yes.
Yeah. Now he is, yeah. I don't think he did in year one, though.
No,
I think he wanted it both ways, and it didn't work out. I think he was somewhere in the middle, and and I can't fault. We've gone over this. I can't necessarily fault the approach, the idea of trying to incorporate the old with the new and see if we can't get it all together in one here for and make this a smooth transition. Didn't work out, so now it's like, okay. I'm going back to the drawing board. I'm doing it differently. I got to find my guy that I can trust that puts his offense together, coordinates all that, while I oversee all this other stuff.
Yeah, the timeline for the offensive coordinator is independent of the timeline of the coaching changes that we anticipated heading into this week, and the early signing period closes 2 weeks from Friday. So one would expect around Christmas time that week. That's probably when you hear about some changes on the staff. He's not going to short himself when it comes to having people in different places around the country recruiting right now. He said it on his coaches show last week. We need to recruit everywhere. It's not just about the positions you think, the position groups that are screaming louder that, you can't hear anything else. We got to recruit everywhere. We weren't good at pretty much anywhere. So he needs position coaches all around this country. So I wouldn't imagine there wouldn't be any other changes unless there's a defection of sorts from somebody for the next 2 weeks.
And then I read a story today about football coaches, strength and conditioning coaches, and what those salaries look like. And I got to tell you, Tom, I remember when that field was a growing field. I remember when I would talk to people who wanted to get into that field, and the conversation centered around, and I'll bring this up because I'm going to talk about this again in a second in the next segment. Literally people talking about getting paid $50,000 to teach kids how to work out properly and eat properly. Go look at those numbers now. It is absolutely remarkable. And I'll bring up some numbers that might shock you in a minute at what current strength and conditioning coaches are being paid around the country. It is unbelievable. And from the late 80s, early 90s that I'm talking about to where we are now. So
what I would guess is that they are paid somewhere in the neighborhood of where coordinators and position coaches were paid not that long ago.
Oh yeah, and it's gone light years from where it was. I mean, it's hard to fathom. You want me to read this, buddy? You want me to read this here? I'm going to read it. It's the cue to go to commercial. It's my fault. It's the host's fault. It's not Tom's fault. But he correctly pointed to the sheet that I had misplaced. Coverage of the Coaching Carousel of the Jeff Cameron Show is brought to you by our friends at Deck Pizza Pub in downtown Tallahassee. All new this fall, the Deck Pizza Pub is in the old downtown Po' Boys. You guys know where that is, located there on East College Avenue, and features the best Neapolitan pizza in town with craft beer and cocktails. All right, yay. All inside a renovated indoor restaurant and on the outdoor deck you know and love. And I do love that deck. That's a good downtown deck. As Tom gets nervous every time I say deck. The Deck Pizza.
Bragging about the boys you took.
97.9 ESPN Radio offers our congratulations to the national champion Florida State University soccer team. Your hard work and determination makes Tallahassee proud. Way to go, Noles!
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
With the very best gifts from the very best brands, Ace makes finding the perfect present easier than ever. Wow your family with new and innovative gifts from the Grommet. Or give Dad something he'll really love from his favorite brands like Craftsman, Weber, Traeger, and Yeti. Plus, make your holiday less hectic and save time by buying your gifts online and picking them up in store for free. So this holiday, take everything you love about Christmas and wrap it in red. Only at your neighborhood Ace.
It's that time of year again where you get to shop for the naughty and the nice. Make it easy. Superlube it with a Super Change card. Visit any of our 19 area Superlube locations, buy 3 oil changes and get 1 free. And for a limited time, you'll also receive a free fuel system cleaner. Superlube. It's quick and convenient, and you never need an appointment. Hurry in and get your Super Change card plus a free fuel system cleaner today.
How I love to superlube my car, lube my car. How I love to superlube my car, yes sir.
Hi, Chris Kraft for Kraft Nissan. We have all felt the impact of Hurricane Michael across the Florida Panhandle. While Tallahassee was beat up and bruised, our neighbors from Apalachicola to Panama City, their lives will be changed forever. Our hearts and prayers go out to all affected. And while there is devastation, there is hope, because Floridians are strong and we take care of our own. I have traveled with the Red Cross and have seen much of the devastation in person. The pouring in of help from volunteers that are neighbors and strangers alike is incredible and is what makes us all proud to be Americans. Also, if your vehicle was damaged by the storm, you automatically qualify for Nissan's factory employee pricing, which is up to $1,500 under invoice. In addition, you keep all rebates or 0% interest on most models. And Nissan Corporate has just announced no payments until 2019. It's Nissan's way of helping our neighbors, and Kraft Nissan will put an additional $1,000 on all trades. But my main message today is to do what you can do to continue helping, whether your time or your treasure. This is going to be a long process, but I promise you, Kraft Nissan will continue to help until the job is done.
This is Golick and Wingo.
ESPN NFL insider and host of the Adam Schefter podcast. Adam Schefter, the decision by the Chiefs to release Kareem Hunt.
I was trying to recall the number of times that somebody, not just in the NFL, but in all of sports, ever had been released at the age of 23, having accomplished as much as Kareem Hunt already had, heading into the prime of his career. Had there ever been a player who had been cut like that, who had done more, who was younger, who had so much ahead of him athletically? And the only people that I could come up with in the history of sports were Michael Vick and Aaron Hernandez. Wow. Here's another interesting thought that I heard from a number of NFL executives last week, people on teams across the league. If Reuben Foster hadn't been arrested and the Redskins hadn't claimed him and come under the widespread criticism that they did, would everything had played out the way that it did? And would some team claim Kareem Hunt because of the talent that we're talking about?
Golick and Wingo, weekdays at 6 a.m. on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Hey, sports fans, who's on your Mount Rushmore of baseball? I'm going with Ruth, Cobb, Aaron, and Mantle. Football, I've got Bradshaw, Peyton, Montana, and Brady. In basketball, Jabbar, Jordan, Bird, and LeBron. This debate could go on, but when it comes to the Mount Rushmore of personal injury law in Tallahassee, the choice is clear. Fonville, Lewis, Messer, McConaughey. Recently voted Tallahassee's best law firm, so avoid the underdog and go with the favorite, Fonville, Lewis, Messer, McConaughey.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Call 800-319-8464. That's 800-319-8464. Again, 800-319-8464.
Hi, I'm President John Thrasher. I'm here with some of our outstanding marching chiefs. They've been invited to an incredible opportunity, and they need your help. Next June, the marching chiefs will travel to France and represent both the state of Florida and the United States at the 75th anniversary of the D-Day invasion on the beaches of Normandy. As both an Army veteran and the president of the university dedicated to student veteran success, I know what a meaningful opportunity this is for these talented musicians. But experiences like this can be out of reach for many students. So today, I'm asking for your support so we can send as many of our marching chiefs as possible to this monumental event. Visit give.fsu.edu/Normandy. Thank you, and go Noles!
This is the Jeff Cameron Show. Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Thanks for tuning to it. I was floored today when I saw that Craig Fitzgerald, when he was hired by Tennessee, University of, he was taken from the NFL, Tom, taken from the Houston Texans, and he was given a 3-year deal annually worth $625,000. And Philip Fulmer spoke about that at the time of the hiring, saying, look, we were really prepared to make a huge investment in this area. And today's article, interesting enough, USA Today, with each passing year, the aggression in spending and hiring strength coaches like Fitzgerald continues to grow. Since 2016, the number of strength coaches making more than $500,000 per year has increased from 3 to 8. 17 others now have an annual compensation north of $350,000. Iowa's Chris Doyle continues to lead the group with an annual compensation of $725,000 a year. He currently makes more than all but 2 head coaches in the Mid-American Conference, and he's in line to receive a raise to $783,000 start next year. Man, that is remarkable. Elsewhere, schools continue to put an emphasis on hiring the right strength and conditioning coach, and they're willing to invest significant resources to ensure such hires are made. This is an obvious opportunity for us to speak on the subject to the extent that we can, just with our friendship and our good buddy Bill, who we've talked about off and on over the years, in working out with him and doing all those things.
Get results with him if we bother to show up.
I had a feeling we were both going to go there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't do that as a free plug, but I'll get back to it. What I was going to say was that the shift in the way people work out, and certainly the way people eat, is something that interests me in general, because you see now the lifespan for certain players at certain positions to grow because of it. People take better care of themselves, and you get lunatics like Tom Brady, but you also get people understanding functional strength, right? The stuff that's so different from them when I played. I mean, and gosh, if you get older than me, everybody can remember the times where basically you would squat, you would bench, you clean, you might do stuff like that, but they were all really kind of standard movements. And what's changed the most is, explosive movements, functional strength. Everything is done now incorporating dynamic movement, all these things where you're incorporating more than one movement. It's not just your straight up bench pressing or something like that, And it seems like, and there are people who are better at it than others, but it seems to me that fundamentally, when you look at these workouts, so let's just say you go online and you watch Florida State's players work out, or you watch Iowa's players work out. Every school has a video promoting what they're doing in the offseason. And so you get a good glimpse of the kinds of movements that schools are now incorporating, that programs are now incorporating in their workouts for their football players, right? And it's different for track and basketball and everybody else. But when you see this, they're relatively the same. Now, how you put together programs for individuals matters, certainly, and individual expertise can be seen better in that light, and marry that with a nutritionist and somebody who understands, like our friend Bill does, proteins and all these things, how they work. Yes, I get it. The depth of understanding and knowledge and how those things all come together matter, but it seems like as far as the actual movements go, everybody's got a pretty good handle right now on what you should incorporate if you're a football player to your workouts.
Yeah, but I think when you get a few of those people in a room, the focus on their philosophy can be quite different. And I think that's where part of it comes in when you're talking about trying to hire the best in the business, quote unquote. And I think part of it also has to be the connection they have with the kids and their motivation tactics.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Because, I mean, if you're talking about off-season workouts, the coaching staff can only be, and I'm talking about the football coaching staff, like Willie Taggart and his day-to-day staff, coordinators and position coaches, you can only interact with the players so often. But the strength coach...
Oh, it's unlimited. That's why it's, this is why we go back and talk about how important it is that you're hiring a guy who not only understands what he does and what he should be doing and how he teaches that, implements that, these workouts individualized and elsewhere, but can sell your overriding philosophy and help ingrain the culture that you're trying to develop. He may be the most critical guy on the campus.
Right, for all the time he spends. Yeah, you talk about, a lot of things when you're looking for schools in general for high school kids, elementary school kids, college kids, the ratio of faculty to students and how much time you get to spend with an instructor one-on-one, or are you talking to a TA, or, are you talking to somebody else? Well, you get a lot of time, like all the office hours in the world with the training staff if you want to. They're always there for you. You're always working out. So I think just between that and the nutritional program that they can set up, the protocols and working with your cafeteria and all that kind of stuff. That's a big-time job. But I think part of the reason that the salaries are so high, too, is because of the bubble of college football and how much money the TV networks are generating. So to have a top 5 trainer across the country, all of these schools have all this extra money that they can spend, and it's good for business for a trainer right now.
Without question, it would be a great thing to be able to latch on with a school and get this kind of a gig. Like, for example, obviously Power 5 schools have the greatest number of resources at their disposal. In Group of 5, they've made commitments now to this same sort of thing, strength and conditioning. But Florida Atlantic utilized in this article, I read this morning and I thought, holy moly, they tripled the annual compensation for their head strength and conditioning coach. Wilson Love is at Florida Atlantic. Now think about this guy's life for a second. He's at Florida Atlantic, good gig, right? All right, he's working at a university and he's making $80,000 a year. Not a bad life.
Not bad.
Not bad. Yeah, that was 2 years ago. He's now making over $250,000. He's 27 years old. He's gone from $80,000 to $250,000 in the last 2 years.
Well,
woo!
Lane Kiffin sees the importance of him, so I would think where Lane goes next, this guy will follow, right?
Yeah, well, and going back to what we were saying here is that these are the guys that have to implement the culture, and we've spent a lot of time around here talking about culture and flipping culture and doing all of that.
Commitment day-to-day.
Commitment day-to-day, that whole thing. So when the contact for the rest of the staff is completely limited by the NCAA, then this coach, this guy, has to be the guy. And, we look back for all the times that we had discussions about what Jimbo did or did not do and which other assistants we liked, didn't like, and all of that. Man, there's no question. You got to go back towards the end there and look at Vic's job and that he did or didn't do.
Sure. And in Jimbo's camp, if you were arguing for him, you'd say he wanted some revamping done in that department, and we didn't necessarily part with all the dollars that he wanted us to part with. Were they unreasonable requests? I'm sure that's up for debate between the athletic department. President Thrasher probably has one stance, and Jimbo would have another. But there's no doubt if you look at the Alabama documentary series that came out before the season started.
Yeah.
Remember when they showed the strength and conditioning coach and how militaristic the style was of how Alabama does everything? Well, that guy is the implementation, physically speaking, of what Nick Saban is trying to do to you mentally. I mean, that's all it is. They're browbeating you. It's very much like a basic training atmosphere every day in practice with Nick Saban. The mind games he plays to keep you motivated, and here's the guy who's making you do that in the summers so you come ready to play in the fall. And what I want to know, which would be at least of interest to me, when they bring a recruit in for a visit, do they go see the trainer and then the trainer talks with Nick and he says, well, here's what I can do with his body? This is what I'm working with.
I wouldn't doubt that. Right.
Here's the frame.
Here's what we want.
Here's what he could become.
Yeah.
And maybe if Nick has to decide between this 5-star or that 5-star, he talks to the trainer and says, well, what can he become for the position I want him to play?
That's interesting. I don't know. Nick has always been so good. He put together that plan that Jimbo utilizes when assessing players, and the only way you go outside of the parameters, it's by position, certainly, and the only way you go outside of that is if a kid has a preternatural skill in some other way. So Nick says these are the tools that you must possess if you play corner or if you play linebacker or you play running back. And the only way that I will take you if you don't possess those skills is if you do this at a level that nobody else can. Would you also incorporate what their bodies can become with your nutritional guy and your exercise?
Well, they could put him
in
through
that larger conversation.
He could put him through an explosive movements test that might be proprietary to his own system or her own system. And then from there they say, all right, well, if you need him to be this type of player, he has explosiveness here but not there.
Well, that's where it gets into what I think is always fascinating. Now, listen, to be sure, you have to know your stuff, and there's a large amount of education involved in all this. It's not a willy-nilly science here. It's exercise physiology. You got to have a clue.
This ain't no voodoo.
Yeah, you got to know what the hell you're doing here. You're going to get somebody hurt, and you'd get found out in a hurry. So I'm not saying that, but proprietary explosive movement test would be fascinating. It sounds a lot like me being a consultant for on-air hosts. I've got a proprietary way in which I will lay out for you why it is that Johnny can or cannot be a great afternoon host. That would be unique.
Well, there's a lot of ways to do it, but clearly, if it was that easy, Nick would just keep the price low, and when somebody grades out in terms of salary, he'd bring in the next guy, right?
No, right. That's definitely. I'm more interested to see how it's grown from $80,000 to $250,000. It's just at the lowest levels and $750,000 at the highest levels. And
well, the players don't need that money, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, by the way, I referenced our friend Bill. Frequency XP. There you go. Love you, buddy. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
On Tallahassee Sports Monster, it's Army versus Navy. Coverage of this year's game begins Saturday at 2 p.m., and Army versus Navy 2018 is brought to you locally by Joe Manassa Real Estate. Online at manassa.com, MANAUSA.com.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Doug Brown. The leading tackler for the New York Giants, linebacker Landon Collins, will go on injured reserve. That report from ESPN's Josina Anderson. Collins will likely need season-ending shoulder surgery. He had 96 tackles this season. The Carolina Panthers put tight end Greg Olsen on injured reserve today, ending his season. Olsen re-injured his surgically repaired right foot Sunday against the Buccaneers. When the new XFL launches in February of 2020, the league will have 8 teams. Those 8 cities announced today: Dallas, Houston, Los Angeles, New York, St. Louis, Seattle, Tampa Bay, and Washington, D.C. There's an NBA doubleheader tonight on ESPN starting at 8 Eastern Time. 76ers and Raptors up first from Toronto, followed by the Lakers hosting the Spurs. ESPN's Chiney Agwumike doesn't think it's realistic to expect the Lakers to be great this season.
At the end of the day, I think the Lakers are built for the long term, not the short term. Everyone wants to put pressure on them to win now. And when you have LeBron James, that is a real possibility. But I think we've also realized that LeBron James is not enough in the modern NBA. So it's more so a long-term push. Who's going to beat the Warriors? You need a team with 1, 2, 3, 4 superstars, 4 all-stars.
Chiney Agwumike on Golic and Wingo. Former boxing champions Donald Curry, Julian Jackson, and James McGirt will be inducted into the Boxing Hall of Fame next June. Also to be inducted, ESPN boxing analyst and longtime trainer Teddy Atlas. UFC President Dana White tells ESPN former NFL lineman Greg Hardy will make his UFC debut in January. Hardy will face Alan Crowder on January 19th in Brooklyn.
Car get caught in some gridiron action? Take it to Bob's Auto Repair and Collision Center. Now open at the new location on Lake Bradford Road. The new Bob's Auto Repair and Collision Center is still providing the best car care and collision service in town with the same great people, but now at a new state-of-the-art facility off Lake Bradford Road. Come check it out for a free collision estimate and find out why Bob's Auto Repair and Collision has been rated #1 with FSU students in Tallahassee for over 35 years. Bob's Auto Repair and Collision Center, 2293 Lake Bradford Road. Don't let your car get stuck on the bench this season.
License number MV01209.
The Donald L. Tucker Civic Center is awarding one lucky fan with tickets for an entire year with its Tickets to the Tuck giveaway, presented by POSS Medical Supplies. Grand prize is admission for 2 for every event at the Tuck in 2019. Go to tuckerciviccenter.com to enter. No purchase necessary. Good luck from the Tuck. See official rules for details.
Give joy, get joy at Kohl's Friends and Family Sale. Only once a year. Take an extra 25% off. Give joy with 60 to 70% off fine jewelry. Give an Instant Pot or Beats headphones and get joy with Kohl's Cash. Plus, snap a free picture in-store with Santa Sunday from 1 to 3 p.m. Give joy, get joy at Kohl's. Select styles 25% offer valid November 29th through December 8th with promo code THANKYOU25. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
You know what's crazy? Not using smarter tools to manage your small business. You work too hard to work this hard. Collecting receipts? Is this the 80s? Are you making a call from a payphone later? Spreadsheets? Are you rocking a radical perm right now?
QuickBooks gives you a smarter set of business tools that do all the hard work for you.
It's easier than rewinding a VHS before returning it.
You earned it. We're here to make sure you get it. QuickBooks, backing you. Average tax savings based on QuickBooks Self-Employed Tax Year 2017. Customers that had business expenses and no taxes.
Come celebrate 25 years of Jerry's famous cigars on Saturday, December 8th, only at Jerry's Cigar Shop. Purveyors of fine cigars since 1993, Jerry's has been Tallahassee's favorite cigar destination for 25 years. Sponsored by Ashton Cigars, join us at Jerry's as we celebrate our 25th anniversary with some fine cigars, food, cold beer, fun raffles, and amazing deals. So don't miss out on Saturday, December 8th from 5 to 9 p.m. only at Jerry's Cigar Shop on Cary Forest Parkway. Your first drink is on the house.
We're completing our descent and will arrive in TLH shortly.
Oh, I'm so happy to be home.
Once we land, you can take off again with savings from the City of Tallahassee.
What do you mean?
The City of Tallahassee offers rebates for up to $300 in savings when you purchase energy-efficient appliances.
Wow, that would be a huge help.
The city also offers free energy audits.
What's an energy audit?
It's when an energy auditor comes to your home at the time that's convenient for you, examines your structure, and checks your energy and water systems. Then, they recommend changes that could save you energy, water, and money. The city also offers free ceiling insulation grants for qualifying customers.
Man, the city sure offers a lot of ways to save money. Once we land, I will check out all of the products and services the city has to offer. This makes me proud to call Tallahassee home.
Thank you for flying with us today. Don't forget that you can take off with savings with the City of Tallahassee. From rebates for Energy Star appliances to insulation grants. You can save energy, water, and money. Visit talgov.com for more information.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show.
Everybody want to walk around here and act like, you know what, Aaron Rodgers, he's not having the greatest year. You're absolutely right. He's not. He's not. Aaron Rodgers is not having the greatest year. Nobody's going to make that defense. He's not going to make that defense for himself. He ain't blind. But we're talking about Aaron Rodgers, who will saunter, who will cruise into the Hall of Fame. First ballot, without question. That's how great Aaron Rodgers has been.
The Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Broadcasting live from the AmeriGas Propane Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee. This is the Jeff Cameron Show. Brought to you by Cornerstone Tool and Fastener on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Yeah, man, nobody's doubting Aaron Rodgers is a Hall of Famer. What the hell does that have to do with anything? Is that a bad year?
Don't you understand? He's great. He's a great quarterback.
He is a great quarterback.
That's what I'm saying.
He's been terrible. Rams at Chicago, Sunday night, 8:20. We get another great Sunday night game, and the Bears have to bounce back after dropping one to the Giants on the road. Interested in the spread there. I'll have to take a look just as an aside, but we have playoff scenarios for you already. It's that time of year. Playoff scenarios for Week 14. Yeah, baby. Los Angeles clinches a first-round bye with a win. Damn, have yourself a season. I tell you this, though. You know they're still nervous about that defense. The Saints are 10-2. They're taking on our beloved 5-7 Tampa Bay Buccaneers in a game that my cohort here will be at Sunday at 1 o'clock. New Orleans clinches the NFC South Division title with a win or tie, or a Carolina loss or tie. Wouldn't be surprised if Carolina lost. They are fading fast with an injured quarterback, no doubt. But New Orleans winning is a little less certain than I thought it was, say, 2 to 3 weeks ago, with the Bucs playing pretty damn good football right about now. In the AFC, Kansas City is 10-2, taking on Baltimore 7-5. Baltimore's been winning games, and I love that they attribute that to Lamar Jackson, but when you watch them play, it's not because of Lamar Jackson. Anyhow, that said, Kansas City can clinch a playoff berth with a win or tie, or a Miami loss or tie, plus an Indianapolis loss or tie, plus a Tennessee loss or tie. Here we go.
I love this part of the year. The scenarios are always great. They're nerdy, they're confusing, but they're always fun.
The New England Patriots sit at 9-3. They're taking on the Dolphins in Miami. The Dolphins are 6-6. That game is at 1 o'clock. New England clinches the AFC East Division title for the 45th straight season with a win or a tie. God, the rest of that division, always thinking to themselves, really, in a salary cap league, these a-holes are going to win it again easily. Yes, they are. Just makes a mockery of the division.
If you're the owner of one of those franchises.
Oh, Jesus.
We've had a generation to oust these people.
Yeah, it's got to be crazy. Like you had a friend whose father was 65 years old when you were younger. Maybe you were in college and you were going home and visiting with him, and they would sit around and you talk football. That dude died and never saw somebody other than the Patriots win the damn division. That guy's gone. You attended his funeral, and you're like, never did see anybody but the Patriots win in his last 20 years of life. That's terrible. That's ridiculous. It's not quite the 100-plus years that the Cubs fans had to endure losing their great-grandpappy, followed by their grandfather, followed by their father, followed by their brother, and everybody else in that generation who didn't see anybody win a damn thing in Chicago. But, yes, it's still not good. It's a salary cap league. Good Lord.
Damn it, Grandpappy.
Grandpappy died and never saw the Cubs do nothing, save for when he was 6. The first time they won it.
Why do I get to see it? You got
I don't deserve this.
You got championship guilt.
Grandpappy needed to see it. If not Grandpappy, then Granddad. And if not Granddad, my dad. But none of them, they got to see nothing but heartache. But I saw him win it. And I'll take my beer to the grave. Pour one out for Grandpappy. All right, Houston. The Texans are 9-3. They're taking on Indianapolis 6-6. Houston clinches the AFC South Division title with a Houston win plus Tennessee loss and/or tie. Houston tie plus Tennessee loss. See what we did there? The Chargers. You don't have to see what we did there. Don't worry about it. Chargers are 9-3. Impressive win against the Steelers. What a comeback. Old angry Phillips Rivers is having a year for the ages. My man. Love that dude. The Bucs aren't going to win the Super Bowl. I know, that's shocking. That's the kind of insight you get when you tune into the Jeff Cameron Show. But guess what? Because they can't, I'm pulling for the Chargers. Come on, Chargers. I want angry Phillip Rivers and his 14 kids to enjoy a Super Bowl victory.
You still have more fans in San Diego than you do Los Angeles currently.
That's true. That is true.
They've got no fans.
Man, LA's got it good right now. That's a damn shame when you think about LA, right? They have the Rams, they got the Chargers, and they don't really go watch either.
Yeah. I think the Rams have more fans than the Chargers do, and I don't think it's close. But still, yeah, there it is.
They're taking on the rapidly sinking franchise of the Cincinnati Bengals, who now cast their eye to Urban Meyer. Sunday, 4:05, CBS, Los Angeles, the Chargers clinch a playoff berth with a win plus a Miami loss. Okay, that seems likely, right? Miami play New England. There's your loss. A Denver loss or tie. We'll see. Plus an Indianapolis loss or tie, and or a Tennessee loss or tie. Lots of ways for the Chargers to take it on down the road.
Denver just lost Emmanuel Sanders today. They fear an Achilles tear during practice. That would be the second receiver to suffer an Achilles tear in the last month. Des Bryant in his first workout with the New Orleans Saints.
That was downright hilarious. I don't know why I thought that. I just did. I thought it was funny.
It was the final play of that practice, too.
Oh, son of a. That's a toughie. Man, look at these deals. They got them going on right now over at Bumpus. It's the 97.9 lunch menu. Did you know this? I bet you didn't know this. Me and Eddie got together. You get the bump of burger. You get the same old with cheese, lettuce, tomato, onion with choice of cheese. Yeah, Southwest tacos. Flour tortillas stuffed with buttermilk fried chicken. Woo! Plus, melted cheese and black beans and salsa and spinach, sriracha, all kinds of good stuff. Cobb salad, penny pasta. I'll be telling you about this in the weeks to come. But they're doing lunch specials now, $9.79. See what they did there? Affordable, tasty, and every day of the week.
So the punctuation, though, is not 97.9. It's probably 9.79. I would hope.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That would be terrible. Here's your Cobb salad for $979. What? This better be awesome. Games for Less, the only locally owned and operated gaming store in town, has Tallahassee's largest selection of new and used video games and game systems. The future of video gaming is at Games for Less, where they have both the PS4 and Xbox One. It's time to trade in your old systems and elevate your gaming experience now. Games for Less is also your headquarters for the best in retro gaming. Atari 2600, original Nintendo, Super NES, or Sega Genesis, you name it. They got it at Games for Less. Games for Less, the Super Walmart Shopping Center on Appalachia Parkway. Give them a call today at 850-219-3535. That's Games for Less.
Barry knows cool. He's keeping you comfortable. Barry knows cool. You can put him to the test.
For a limited time, receive up to a $400 trade-in bonus when you upgrade to a select Carrier home comfort system. Plus, you can now quickly and easily schedule an appointment, purchase or renew your service agreement, or pay your bill from your mobile device at baranoac.com. Turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air. It's that easy. Florida license CAC 057652.
Wahoo Seafood Grill, Tallahassee's leader in fresh seafood, is located right behind the Best Western on North Monroe. Lunch specials start at $7.99. Be sure to try their award-winning house-made burger. Big lunch parties are also welcome. Wahoo Seafood Grill makes lunch specials a very affordable choice. Delivery is available and plenty of parking. Wahoo Seafood Grill, easy access from any part of town using I-10. Visit them online at wahooseafoodgrill.com or call them today at 850-629-4059.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Call 800-319-8464. That's 800-319-8464. Again, 800-319-8464.
Now you can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go and pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-298-5783. 800-298-5783. That's 800-298-5783.
You know what's crazy? Not using smarter tools to manage your small business. You work too hard to work this hard. Collecting receipts? Is this the 80s? Are you making a call from a payphone later? Spreadsheets? Are you rocking a radical perm right now?
QuickBooks gives you a smarter set of business tools that do all the hard work for you.
It's easier than rewinding a VHS before returning it.
You earned it. We're here to make sure you get it. QuickBooks, backing you. Average tax savings based on QuickBooks Self-Employed Tax Year 2017. Customers that had business expenses and no taxes.
See, very intrigued by the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
Mongolian wild ass runs 40 miles per hour.
What? A Mongolian wild ass is faster than Usain Bolt? Put that on the poll, Guillermo. Are you stunned? The Mongolian wild ass is faster. That's a fast ass, man.
The Dan Le Batard Show, weekdays at 10 a.m. on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Driving every day from the AmeriGas studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is 97.9 ESPN Radio, WTSM, Woodville, Thomasville, Tallahassee.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Doug Brown. The leading tackler for the New York Giants, linebacker Landon Collins, will go on injured reserve. That report from ESPN's Josina Anderson. Collins will likely need season-ending shoulder surgery. He had 96 tackles this season. The Carolina Panthers put tight end Greg Olsen on injured reserve today, ending his season. Olsen re-injured his surgically repaired right foot Sunday against the Buccaneers. When the new XFL launches in February of 2020, the league will have 8 teams. Those 8 cities announced today: Dallas, Houston, Los Angeles, New York, St. Louis, Seattle, Tampa Bay, and Washington, D.C. There's an NBA doubleheader tonight on ESPN starting at 8 Eastern Time. 76ers and Raptors up first from Toronto, followed by the Lakers hosting the Spurs. ESPN's Chiney Agwumike doesn't think it's realistic to expect the Lakers to be great this season.
At the end of the day, I think the Lakers are built for the long term, not the short term. Everyone wants to put pressure on them to win now. And when you have LeBron James, that is a real possibility. But I think we've also realized that LeBron James is not enough in the modern NBA. So it's more so a long-term push. Who's going to beat the Warriors? You need a team with 1, 2, 3, 4 superstars, 4 all-stars.
Shanae Agwumike on Golic and Wingo. Former boxing champions Donald Curry, Julian Jackson, and James McGirt will be inducted into the Boxing Hall of Fame next June. Also to be inducted, ESPN boxing analyst and longtime trainer Teddy Atlas. UFC President Dana White tells ESPN former NFL lineman Greg Hardy will make his UFC debut in January. Hardy will face Alan Crowder on January 19th in Brooklyn.
Broadcasting live from the AmeriGas Propane Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Cornerstone Tool and Fastener on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Hour number 2, Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Thanks for tuning to it. Hope you're well. Fine balls, Wednesday to you and yours. If you missed portions of the show, all 3 hours posted upon the conclusion, both on iTunes and in our own audio vault. We're currently on YouTube. Thanks for watching on YouTube, ESPN Tallahassee there. You can email us, jcs at 979ESPNradio.com. You can find me on Twitter at jcameronshow. The WTSM app, good for your mobile devices. And we would encourage you, download that free app now because you'll find archived audio there as well. That's always a good thing. I keep thinking, man, we're going to get that announcement. Everybody would like to know when it is that Florida State will be hiring their offensive coordinator, but it doesn't appear that we're any closer to that right now than we were yesterday at this time, Tom. It seemed like actually we might have been closer yesterday than today. We do know this. According to Knowles 247, the timetable has been moved up. Willie Taggart in home with Sam Howell today in order, along with Coach Kelly, in order to try to procure his services and keep his commitment alive. But you could understand why that would be. At the same time, I think I was more interested in the idea that maybe we're not out of the running just yet, the way I thought as of yesterday's show.
Yeah, the fact that the visit got moved up, confirmed. I saw War Chant has it. It starts at 4:30. So, I mean, in just 25 minutes, here it goes, man. The meeting between the coach and David Kelly and Hal.
Dun, dun, dun,
so important. Hopefully we can get text updates as it's going on. Maybe the snacks, what's being fed at the dinner table, what's being eaten. But, yes, there was a line in the Knowles 24/7 story that said the thought at the moment is that Howell may indeed stick with his commitment to Florida State. Why is that important? Well, obviously you want your quarterback, but he's an early signing period commitment, and that's 2 weeks away.
Yeah, 2 weeks away for early signing day, and you'd like to get as many good players in here, especially those that you've had on the hook for some time, at least publicly and verbally, to say yes, to commit and make that official and go from there, obviously, in the effort for all of those young men. A lot of them kind of serve as guys that can spread the word, and he's been one who's done that the most. So to lose him would hurt, wouldn't be the end of the world. I'm more interested in, at this point, that the talking point about which grad transfer is possibly coming to Tallahassee. I mean, you hear all kinds of rumors there, whether it's Tate or Hurts or any number of other kids. Behind this offensive line, it is vital that you find somebody that can get the hell out of the way. And I think part of the problem is funny, too, because I really do believe, and we've had cause to do this for the last few days as we enter into this next stage, to hire an offensive coordinator now that Walt Bell has took it on down the road to UMass. But also because we watched the way the season transpired, and here we are. We saw the bowl announcements, and it's just one more slap in the face, another reminder that you didn't make a bowl, and what are we going to do to remedy these problems? And we've bantied about the names that are out there that could come in and help out, and whether it's a good idea to bring in certain guys with baggage or not. What's the what's the ratio there? How does that work? Like they have to be this kind of talented in a surefire hire with this much baggage, or we put them on a scale. It's the ratio there, right? Like if you are a sure thing, you and I were laughing yesterday. We were talking about, well, I know the conversation shouldn't change, but it most certainly does if a certain offensive tackle is of the caliber of, say, Orlando Pace, whether or not you welcome him back into the fold or not. I mean, that's the reality of a lot of these situations across the board, even though at the root of all this is a larger discussion about the fact that he probably shouldn't be here
at the root of this, it's more binary, but in the real world across the power of college football, well, Urban Meyer was retained. Need we say more?
Right, of course. And of course he was, and it shocked nobody. It also shocks nobody that he's taking it on down the road now. But anyhow, that said, okay, I'm interested in who that would be. And I think that at the root of some of the problems this year was the idea that going with DeAndre Francois, A, could have caused a rift in the locker room, which means that you didn't get everybody bought in the way that you wanted to. And B, and we didn't bring this up yesterday, Tom, I think one of the reasons for that was that they believed as the season went on that he'd be more mobile than he was. I think they thought he would be better able to get out of harm's way more efficiently than he did.
It wasn't until the very, very end that you thought, well, where was this?
Well, that was because there was a setback the first time they tried to run him, which was the game against Miami that I was at, and that play in which he got hurt, and you saw the look on his face, the one that suggested he believed he was done for the year again. I think there was a setback there. Clearly, that game plan incorporated his legs, and they really couldn't do it again until later in the year, like you say. But anyhow, that was one of the many, perhaps, missteps in year one, and now you got to find, I think, another quarterback to bring in here. I don't think he comes back and starts for you next year. I know Blackman is obviously on the roster, and he's a kid now that you probably are glad at least that you redshirted, I suppose. But it will be interesting to find out, do we get one of those grad transfers? I'm more interested in that and who our offensive coordinator is going to be and how quickly this all gets remedied. And so every little nugget that comes out now is, hey, listen, there's a rumor of a grad transfer, and that will be known soon. And there's a rumor of an offensive coordinator, and we don't know when that's going to be coming down the line because that was thought to have to be done by yesterday, frankly.
Yeah, for the offense in general, the priorities, like you're talking about, in no particular order, are somebody who can organize us so we look okay pre-snap, a quarterback who knows how to run the system that we're trying to coach and implement and install and call, and then an offensive line that gives us a fighting chance to execute that system. I probably did it in reverse order.
I was going to say, I'll start with the offensive line,
but that's what we need here. All those three things. You got to be more organized on offense, and that's probably the smallest piece of the pie for what we are truly angry about this past season. You need the offensive line to be able to give you a fighting chance to run and pass. That's the biggest piece of the pie. And then you need a quarterback who's comfortable enough to zone read, to count pre-snap, who can run the damn offense, and can run tempo and direct everybody.
Well, and yesterday we thought that person might be, and obviously this was talked about quite a bit. We thought that person might be, Hugh Freeze, and we discussed it at length. And much to Brian's chagrin here, I see in an email, why can't a man change? How would you like anything stupid in your past aired out every time your name is mentioned? Well, I don't know, Brian. I suppose I'd hate that. It also kind of comes with the territory. Hence, it gets talked about publicly when you make those kinds of very glaring errors, not once but twice and multiple times, that now we're talking about from the standpoint of Florida State hiring somebody like that. How does it affect your culture? Yeah, that's what's going to happen when you hire guys for millions of dollars. You assess who they are, decisions they've made, especially recent ones. This isn't something from 15 years ago.
Especially as you're deviating the way that you want to operate offensively speaking. You want to keep building the culture or improving the culture, which was probably a wash this past season, but you want to build it forward, create inclusiveness and a sense of togetherness and family in the locker room, but you're going to turn over day-to-day ops of the offense to somebody. And is this the guy that you want to turn over day-to-day ops to?
Well, right, of course, and it's common sense that you assess, evaluate, talk about, and, recognize the impact on the decision you're making and what that does. How that makes you look and what that sets you up to be a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, all of those things are true.
And maybe your answer is yes, but then that changes the way we talk about things a little bit.
Without question,
That's all.
it does. Yeah, we're not saying the
That's
man
not hard.
can't have a job. We're just incorporating every element of his hire. And it's the same reason that I said yesterday that I wouldn't welcome Josh Ball back and went down the litany of things that he did wrong in his last relationship, at least according to those reports. That doesn't mean that I don't think the man can have a job somewhere, can't go play somewhere else, just not here. We don't need him here. And every school is different, and we like to assess that as to your tolerance levels. Like see Ohio State most recently, right? That's going to be talked about for a long time and for good reason. But also when you're in a situation as fragile as this one, your next move is a big, big move. If you have sustained excellence over a long period of time, you can take hits, whether they be to your reputation or your roster. But when you obviously are in a situation in which you're not in a good place and you are espousing a certain way of doing things and this runs counter to that, then maybe not.
Well, I mean, think about Sark being at Alabama not too long ago. I mean, Lane Kiffin is an egomaniac, but Sark was slurring his words at USC.
Functions.
Right.
Pep rallies.
Right. Wearing the shirt. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't out away from work. He's the steward of the program.
At the office.
And he's at the office, so to speak.
Having meetings with fellow coaches in which they later reported smelling alcohol in his breath at 10 a.m.
Right.
We got a problem here, man.
But guess what?
It's got to be talked about, too.
He found his way to the machine that was Tuscaloosa, called some plays, and won some games.
Come on home, boys. It's the halfway house of college football. Come on down. I'll find a role for you, believe me. And I think that's where Hugh's going to end up, by the way, just a guess.
But when Nick is building the thing back 10 years ago, 11, 12 years ago now, I mean, is that the guy you really want to bring in? Because it's high stakes, man. It's not all pie in the sky. You're not taking every 5-star that you want across the country and then putting the X's and O's and bringing them to life. You got to do some hands in the dirt, really cultivating here.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to look at what Alabama does, and everybody talks about trying to emulate that, but not everybody has the resources or commitment to be able to do that. We're certainly not in that same boat. Now, you can rival that and win in a given year, but the sustained excellence is the most frustrating aspect of that, and he's at a place now because they win so frequently and winning solves so much that you're able to take chances on guys solely based on their acumen for the position and not based on their reputation and what it would do to yours. You're able to endure all of that because Nick's the front man for all of this, and he doesn't get in trouble, and he's not a guy that has a terrible reputation as it pertains to the off-the-field stuff. So he just buries them in an office somewhere studying film for hours at a time, and you barely even know they exist on the staff, but indeed they do.
Then you see Butch Jones is standing on the sidelines, and you're like, wait a minute. He's there too?
Yeah.
That's how it works with them. But Dan Enos is the next in line if they were to
stay
promote from within in
now
Tuscaloosa.
That Loxley's gone to Maryland. Yeah.
And that's the dynamic you're working with here with Hugh Freeze. Is would he go to be the man? Would he go to be on the same level with Enos, and then they have to work out their differences for a day-to-day relationship? I don't think Hugh Freeze would go to Alabama to be an analyst. You know what I mean? And wait his turn
unless
to
he was
be
given
offensive
certain
coordinator.
promises. Yeah.
Maybe, but the payday, I mean, that's not good business for the super agent Jimmy Sexton, is it? I mean, you don't want that guy to go take a huge pay cut where he makes whatever it is that the cap is for an analyst versus making over $1 million a year at Florida State.
Right now, his job is to find him a job, to get him, yes, I think long-term is what you're talking about. Yeah, but he's got to get him a job, and if he believes that this job sets him up for greater things 2 and 3 years down the road to be a head coach again, and that you may have to take a step back from a salary standpoint to take a step forward a couple of years from now, then it might be the right landing spot.
I just wonder what the discussions are like to be a fly on the wall, right, between the boosters, the administration, Willie Taggart, and any other concerned parties, Jimmy Sexton, of course. But it sounds like the dollar amount is not the issue here.
No, I don't think so, and I was relieved to hear that. Again, you don't like hearing that bantied about when you're in the midst of trying to fix a problem within your football program, your most high-profile program, where you have to keep up with the Joneses. I would be more concerned if our problem with the hire had to do with the inability to make it from a financial standpoint. It's a much greater conversation to have about whether or not it's the right thing to do, given all that we know with the escorts and everything else.
Right, but what does that mean, though? Is the holdup, let's just say that there is interest, is the holdup because solely Jimmy Sexton is trying to play Alabama against Florida State situation for situation right now? Is there anything in the athletic department, the administration structure at Florida State that says, well, can we look at this from a public relations standpoint and vet this guy more than the media already has done before we green light something? I mean, I just wonder if it's all 100% on the Alabama opening or if there's anything else at play. Doubts within our own administration about whether or not we want to bring this guy in. I'm not trying to create a firestorm, but these are fair questions to ask, I would think.
I don't think that if you're Willie Taggart, you want to I just think it would be a weird hire. Like, can we remove all the other controversy there? I just think it's a weird hire. I commend him on the one hand for, if it's true, that he's decided to take a different role, a different tact, to recognize that I got to change things up. We got to make changes right here. Because that's what you root for, right? That's what you want. So often we talk about coaches being pig-headed and stuck in their ways, and they dig their heels in, and they don't handle criticism well, and their egos are too big for the room and all of that. So this is the anti-that, right? This is a guy who took over self-professed dream job. It didn't go well for 1 year so far, year one. Maybe it turned out to be a little bit more of a mess than he thought it was, and recognized then, I got to make drastic changes. I don't want to lose this job. I love this place. I've already given $1 million long-term to its success. I plan on being here. This was my be-all, end-all choice for the job in the field that I'm in, and I got to get this thing rectified in a hurry. And the best way to do that is for me to relinquish play calling and find a guy who has an expertise proven over time to come in here and do that. I'll hand over the reins. It's all his, and I will do all this other stuff to make it right and make sure these other areas are operating at peak efficiency, as I like to say. That's a good sign that he's willing to do it. But, man, I think it's weird when that's also involves a guy like we're talking about here who comes with that amount of baggage and has been a head coach. There's almost a sense, are you not hiring your replacement potentially?
Well, yeah, I'm sure that there's an element of that if you're aware of your surroundings and everything. Yeah, you got to think about that too. But, okay, so think about it this way. You've got all the baggage there is with Hugh Freeze to begin with. But then yesterday, Walt Bell's out the door. DJ Matthews tweets something along the lines of, hey, can't wait to see you up at the next level, but I know that this level was too much for you at the time. It's like this mixed message from the Florida State wide receiver kind of taking a dig, but not really taking a dig at Walt Bell. And that underscores an issue that we had with social media since, day one. DeAndre's liking Instagram or posts that he makes, Snapchats and stuff like that. You got Nooney Murray in the locker room after. Willie says it's not a big deal.
He's recording on Instagram.
He's recording Willie's words post-game. That's a private matter between the players and the team and the coaching staff.
It's just a known
it's not a good. It's the Antonio Brown thing.
Right, you don't do it.
You don't do it. Willie said it's not a big deal. So you're like, okay. Well, it is. I think it is a big deal personally. Is this the type of thing that he's going to try and clean up? Well, Hugh Freeze, before he even takes the job, if he is going to take the job, is interacting with a Florida State fan on social media, trying to tell them the real side of the story of what happened to him and his sordid past. Do you really need all of these distractions where this is going to be a guy who potentially could pop off on Twitter?
Well, I think that's the more intriguing element here is how in the world. Okay, so if you're talking about poor judgment in the past and or the things that he admitted to and eventually resigned because of. So you're already going to call into question judgment and a level of honesty and integrity because of that incidents while at Ole Miss. Now a guy potentially that you're looking at is interacting with lunatics on Twitter. Yeah. No, this would speak again to your judgment.
I'm trying to whittle down the distraction stuff, right? If I'm Willie, if you're stepping away as a CEO, you're trying to streamline and clean things up, right? I don't necessarily know if that means a social media ban the way Jimbo did. Don't think it's a horrible idea given how this year went and given the kids that we have who are all too happy to go to social media and cry and complain about stuff. You have the interactions with Dontavius Jackson and James Coleman. I mean... Or, no, it wasn't James Coleman. It was Jacoby McDaniel.
Yeah.
And Dontavius Jackson on the eve of the Florida loss. I mean, if you're trying to clean things up, and this guy, before he even takes the gig, responds to a super fan of Florida State on social media.
I didn't see this, by the way. So he's responding. It's a Florida State fan?
It's this crazy lady who was like a big Jimbo fan and a Florida State fan. And so she kept on tweeting at him like, we don't need you. We don't want somebody with your history here at Florida State.
And he responded to her.
So he direct messaged her, but then she screenshot the direct message.
Because of course she did.
And tagged him, and then he responds to her on Twitter. See what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
no.
The fact that I have to even explain this is garbage. Do you really need that in your life? Beyond all the obvious crap of his
And that's why we were
history.
talking about yesterday that you would need some assurances, and you would have to have this in writing, and I don't know that you really can do that, so let's just move it along. Call it a day. Move on, Big River. There are plenty of good offensive minds out there without all these distractions. Tons of them. They exist almost everywhere. You can find. I mean, listen. Again, you got to do your due diligence. You got to sit down. You got to interview these people. You got to recognize that they are capable of doing what you want to do offensively. All of that stuff. But listen, there's not everybody that is really, really good at that job is as high profile with as much problems and baggage that come along with the name. So you got those options as well, and it's something that should be vetted. Jeff Cameron, Show 97.9 ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio offers our congratulations to the national champion Florida State University soccer team. Your hard work and determination makes Tallahassee proud. Way to go, Noles.
I give to you easy laundry service from my friends at Wash Around the Clock. Oh, buddy, this is a game changer. If you're like me, your life is hectic. Between work, school, your kids' sporting events and activities, well, it leaves you precious little time to kick back and take a load off. About the last thing you want to do is hours of laundry, but there it sits, staring at you, taunting. No more. That's right. More watching, less washing. Save hours of valuable time when you sign up not doing laundry with easy laundry service from Wash Around the Clock. Whether it's dry cleaning or just plain laundry, Wash Around the Clock's easy laundry service will pick up and deliver at your home or office. So sign up for free today at easylaundry.net, or you can give them a call, 850-597-9007. Again, sign up today at easylaundry.net. Oh, and by the way, I got you. Use promo code JCS20 and save 20%. That's promo code JCS20. You're saving 20% on your first order. That's easylaundry.net from Wash Around the Clock.
Need help moving? 2 Men and a Truck Tallahassee provides professional home and business move services, both locally and long distance. For your next move, visit 2men.com or call them at 850-224-2232. 2 Men and a Truck, the movers who care.
Napa know-how. It's the biggest holiday sale ever at Napa. Like a Black Friday sale every day, with hundreds of items at their best prices of the year. Like a 26-piece screwdriver set for only $17.99. Just $17.99. See, just like Black Friday, but nobody gets trampled. So don't miss Napa's biggest holiday sale ever. Quality parts, helpful people. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.
At participating Napa Auto Parts stores while supplies last. Offer ends 12/31/18.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
With the very best gifts from the very best brands, Ace makes finding the perfect present easier than ever. Wow your family with new and innovative gifts from the Grommet. Or give Dad something he'll really love from his favorite brands like Craftsman, Weber, Traeger, and Yeti. Plus, make your holiday less hectic and save time by buying your gifts online and picking them up in store for free. So this holiday, take everything you love about Christmas and wrap it in red. Only at your neighborhood Ace.
FSU fans know where to get the best barbecue. Willie Jewell's Old School Barbecue, 5442 Thomasville Road. Old School Barbecue, cooked low and slow. Find out for yourself what all the buzz is about. And when it comes to tailgating, Willie Jewell's does it best. Get the barbecue tailgate special, pork, brisket, chicken, ribs, turkey, and wings with all the fixins. Ready to make your tailgate the place to pregame. The football team has new blood, but when it comes to barbecue, it's old school. Willie Jewell's Old School Barbecue, 5442 Thomasville Road. Go Noles.
Tallahassee has always loved the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill on Appalachia Parkway for its delicious food, cold drinks, and Vegas wall of 8 50-inch flat-screen TVs. Now, the Corner Pocket gives you a new reason to start off every week at the CP, Monday Night Mania. Enjoy 50-cent wings and $5 domestic pitchers of beer every Monday night from 7:30 till 11 p.m. That's right, 50-cent wings and $5 domestic pitchers as you enjoy Monday night on the gridiron. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill and Monday Mania. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Hi, I'm President John Thrasher. I'm here with some of our outstanding marching chiefs. They've been invited to an incredible opportunity, and they need your help. Next June, the marching chiefs will travel to France and represent both the state of Florida and the United States at the 75th anniversary of the D-Day invasion on the beaches of Normandy. As both an Army veteran and the president of the university dedicated to student veteran success, I know what a meaningful opportunity this is for these talented musicians. But experiences like this can be out of reach for many students. So today, I'm asking for your support so we can send as many of our marching chiefs as possible to this monumental event. Visit give.fsu.edu/Normandy. Thank you, and go Noles!
You're listening to The Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
And I just read that headline. I thought, oh, no, I don't want to do that. Former NFL defensive end Greg Hardy will make his UFC debut. That seems about right. Yes. Remember how angry he was?
Yes.
Stacks of weapons. Just not. I would bet he's good at this. I don't know. He's got 3 amateur fights so far and 3 pro fights, all ended first-round knockout victories for him. Made his pro debut in June of 2018. Signed a developmental deal with the UFC immediately after. He's fighting some dude named Alan Crowder. He scares me. That dude scares me. I just remember reading all that stuff going, that guy's crazy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like a special kind of crazy. Now, that doesn't always mean it translates into you whooping ass inside the octagon, but it's a good start.
Danger to society crazy, yes.
What do you think about that, by the way? This came up last night. It's come up a lot lately. We talked about yesterday on the show, what should Josh Ball ever be allowed to play again? Certainly you can't stop a kid from playing football if a school wants to take him in. You just don't have to take him in. There's a lot of this going around right now about really what is appropriate. So Kareem Hunt comes to mind. Kansas City immediately decides that's it. You lied about it, and now that we know what it really was, as opposed to what you said, if you believe that, then you're gone, you're done. And, what is the appropriate punishment is something that people argue about. And you ask yourself, well, what's the right amount of time that he has to be away from the sport? Is he ever allowed to play it again? Certainly somebody will take a risk on that kind of talent. He's only 24 years old. He's going to play again. We all know that.
Yes.
And he will be signed even if they uncover 2 and 3 and 4 incidents.
Well, it's up to 3.
It's up to 3 now, which I thought about over the weekend when he gave the interview that he did to Fox. And I thought at the time, my man, I don't know that I would be doing this so soon. Most of the time, the Jeff Cameron Show PR firm would have swept in there and said, here's where we don't say a thing. Here's where we sit back and I sit down with you and I encourage you to be as honest with me as possible. That is to say, what else am I going to find? Because believe me, that's where everybody is digging currently. Every franchise, every media outlet, and anybody who's got a stake in the game wants to know, is this all you've ever done? Well, is it, Kareem? Because I can't help you unless you tell me exactly what we're dealing with here. Not, let's rush to do an interview before we have our talking points memorized, certainly, and before we know exactly what else is going to come out. Because, see, in that interview, he doesn't admit to having previous problems. He says instead that is just not who he is. It's not characteristic of who he is. He's learned from it. It's not the guy that he is. Well, quite clearly, it is the guy that he is. A, the film shows that. B, it's not the only time you've done it. Now we know.
The eye in the sky does not lie.
In this case, for the wrong reasons.
You'd say, Kareem, here's a pad, here's a pen, and a lighter. I'm going to use that lighter to light this on fire, but I'm going to go get a cup of coffee. Would you like one? I want you to write down everything that could come up in the next week or 2.
Because I got to know which placard I'm looking at, baby. I got to know which placard we're going to when we eventually do address the press. In the interim, we're not addressing nothing. I got to know. because this is going to come to light. It is going to come to light. So let's find out what we're dealing with here. Hey, listen, everybody's got skeletons. Everybody's got missteps, transgressions, things they wish they hadn't done, and to varying degrees. There is the severe. There is the relatively minor, based on this agreed-upon social contract here and all that. I got you. All right, so.
And if you're the PR agent, not me speaking, but if you're the PR agent, you would say, you know how the media is, Kareem. Well, if they pick you, you're screwed.
You're it.
If they pick you.
Yeah, you're it.
Let's get out in front of it to make sure they don't pick you.
Right, and people love to be able to stand and take the low-hanging fruit to their benefit and say, well, obviously this guy is all that's wrong, and that's what they're going to do.
Here comes Mark Schlereth.
Right.
Here's a guy who doesn't get it.
Right, and you're going to get all of that, and here we go. But we do know, and it is an interesting conversation, we do know that obviously his team's going to pick him up. He's in due time, Now, he is on the exempt list now, and he's not going anywhere, and there will be no football in his immediate future. But there will be probably within, year and a half? 2 years?
Unless Vince McMahon calls him for the XFL.
But then you read this story, and you go, all right. So, of course, we all remember Greg Hardy was arrested while in the NFL more than once, was convicted on 2 counts of domestic violence after assaulting his ex-girlfriend. That happened. That's not an opinion. That happened. He was convicted on 2 counts of domestic violence after being arrested for assaulting his girlfriend. And if you read that report, it ain't pretty. It's ugly. Now, the charges down the line ended up being dropped because she didn't go to court. She didn't want to appear and testify and go through the rigmaroles of the court system. And so what ends up happening there, you have police photos of the incident, so you don't have to trust that it was a he said, she said. You can see the photos that were taken at the time of his arrest, which reveal, to some degree, certainly, truthfulness from her side. The point is, eventually all that stuff came out, and you had pictures that were, produced by his ex-girlfriend and others, and you noted a long history of problems. And so on down the line we go. He's out of the league, and now he is signed by Dana White in a high-profile deal here to fight in the UFC. And I know that a lot of people think that that's a wrong move for Dana White, that it's a big mistake. I don't know. It's not like we think that the men fighting in UFC are all saints anyhow. That sport certainly has housed its fair share of lunatics with transgressions and problems with the law, to say the least.
Makes sense.
Well, it absolutely makes sense. I mean, we're not so naive, right? But he has to be, having, I guess, for lack of a better term, served his time or done his time.
They're all not like the guys from Warrior,
No, they're not. I would think that you can absolutely sign a guy like that, and I wouldn't have any problem with it. It's just that there are stipulations, I would think, to protect yourself. Hey, here's the deal, Greg. We can't have you do this, and this. But by all means, come in here and proceed to train to the best of your ability to destroy that man, to beat him senseless in a most entertaining fashion, please.
The way you said Greg was funny, because it was almost like you had to check the paper again that his name was Greg, which is exactly what Dana White does with every one of his fighters.
Sure.
You're all the same. Listen, Greg.
Can you fight? You fight?
Ex-NFL guy.
Yeah,
okay,
great.
an ex-athlete. All right. Never seen one of those before.
See that you've had suspended jail time and probation time and again. All right, that too is not unusual in this arena, if you will. Thankfully, some of these charges were dropped, so you'll be a bit of a controversial figure in our sport. Lord knows we've got tons of them. In fact, you're probably a good draw. I'll sign you to an amateur deal. Let's see how you do, whether you work out, whether you're serious about this. It is indeed a skill you have to work awfully hard at, and it involves a lot of violence, something you seem to be great at. So give it a go, and I'll let you know what that's going to look like, and I'll talk to you again about this time next year.
The violence stays in the gym. It stays in the octagon. That's my only rule. If it doesn't, well, I signed you for $10,000 anyway. Who cares?
Did I see this story right, that the NFL has suspended a 49ers long snapper for a second PED violation? That is awesome. My fan cares deeply. Yes.
0.8 seconds. Got to get it there in 0.8 seconds.
Must do it.
If you do, it's impossible, physically impossible to block a punt.
You cannot block it. It is, yes. I will be the first Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Talking to you for over a year now about Joe Manassa and the approach that the Manassa team takes to get homes sold in Tallahassee. Here's a couple of facts you may not know, though. Joe Manassa's marketing system is on a whole different level than the average agent in Tallahassee because Joe spends thousands on marketing each month. That means more exposure for your home, resulting in a fast sale for the most money. A lot of set it and forget it approach too, but Joe Manassa markets and manages his listings every single day, which means maximum exposure for your house and more offers on your home. And while the average agent in Tallahassee sells 6 homes per year, Joe's on pace to sell over 600 homes this year. Joe guarantees to sell your home at a price and deadline that you agree to, or he'll have it bought for cash. Call Joe to find out more about this phenomenal program. Not only that, working with Joe doesn't obligate you to a thing. If he isn't doing his job, he'll let you out of your contract free and clear, but don't worry, that never happens because Joe sells homes quickly and for top dollar. Call the only real estate agent I would call if I needed to sell my home. That's Joe Manassa of Joe Manassa Real Estate. Call Joe Manassa today at 850-888-0888. That's 850-888-0888. Or online at manassa.com, MANAUSA.com, and start packing.
This is Chris Kraft with news that is sure to change the car buying landscape in North Florida. Our brother Peter and I are now the proud new owners of the Infiniti dealership in Tallahassee, the all-new Kraft Infiniti. As Mercedes-Benz dealers for over 25 years early in our careers, we know how to sell and service Highline vehicles the right way. At Kraft Infiniti, our mission statement is simple: to provide our customers with a car buying experience that is unsurpassed in value, consideration for your time, and pure enjoyment. Finally, the Highline experience you deserve, and it's from the Kraft brothers. Infiniti is much more than a brand name. It's a lifestyle and it's a statement. And at Kraft Infiniti, Peter and I will go beyond your expectations in providing the best sales and service experience in Tallahassee. So come see us at the all-new Kraft Infiniti, beyond your expectations, and brought to you by the Kraft brothers. Kraft Infiniti, 3355 Capitol Circle Northeast, conveniently located between Home Depot and the I-10 flyover. Call 297-1488 or visit us on the web at craftinfinity.com.
Truck and Car Concepts, we're your one-stop shop for tripping out to truck. Truck and Car Concepts, people with their cars, we're number one by far.
Great gift ideas are here at Truck and Car Concepts Christmas sale event. Backup cameras as low as $3.99. High-tech DVD players starting at $5.99. Plus a layaway program and gift certificates.
Truck and Car Concepts, we're your one-stop shop for tripping out to truck. Truck and Car Concepts, people with their cars, we're number one by far.
Superior sound systems as low as $2.99, plus special pricing for custom packages at Truck and Car Concepts across from Kraft Nissan on Mayan Drive. See store for details.
Truck and Car Concepts, we're your one-stop shop, we always aim to please. Truck and Car Concepts, everything is here from A to Z.
Call 656-8800.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
With the very best gifts from the very best brands, Ace makes finding the perfect present easier than ever. Wow your family with new and innovative gifts from the Grommet. Or give Dad something he'll really love from his favorite brands like Craftsman, Weber, Traeger, and Yeti. Plus, make your holiday less hectic and save time by buying your gifts online and picking them up in store for free. So this holiday, take everything you love about Christmas and wrap it in red. Only at your neighborhood Ace.
You know what's crazy? Not using smarter tools to manage your small business. You work too hard to work this hard. Collecting receipts? Is this the 80s? Are you making a call from a payphone later? Spreadsheets? Are you rocking a radical perm right now?
QuickBooks gives you a smarter set of business tools that do all the hard work for you.
It's easier than rewinding a VHS before returning it.
You earned it. We're here to make sure you get it. QuickBooks, backing you. Average tax savings based on QuickBooks Self-Employed Tax Year 2017. Customers that had business expenses and no taxes.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Doug Brown. The leading tackler for the New York Giants, linebacker Landon Collins, will go on injured reserve. That report from ESPN's Josina Anderson. Collins will likely need season-ending shoulder surgery. He had 96 tackles this season. The Carolina Panthers put tight end Greg Olsen on injured reserve today, ending his season. Olsen re-injured his surgically repaired right foot Sunday against the Buccaneers. When the new XFL launches in February of 2020, the league will have 8 teams. Those 8 cities announced today: Dallas, Houston, Los Angeles, New York, St. Louis, Seattle, Tampa Bay, and Washington, D.C. There's an NBA doubleheader tonight on ESPN starting at 8 Eastern Time. 76ers and Raptors up first from Toronto, followed by the Lakers hosting the Spurs. ESPN's Chiney Agwumike doesn't think it's realistic to expect the Lakers to be great this season.
At the end of the day, I think the Lakers are built for the long term, not the short term. Everyone wants to put pressure on them to win now. And when you have LeBron James, that is a real possibility. But I think we've also realized that LeBron James is not enough in the modern NBA. So it's more so a long-term push. Who's going to beat the Warriors? You need a team with 1, 2, 3, 4 superstars, 4 all-stars.
Chiney Agwumike on Golic and Wingo. Former boxing champions Donald Curry, Julian Jackson, and James McGirt will be inducted into the Boxing Hall of Fame next June. Also to be inducted, ESPN boxing analyst and longtime trainer Teddy Atlas. UFC President Dana White tells ESPN former NFL lineman Greg Hardy will make his UFC debut in January. Hardy will face Alan Crowder on January 19th in Brooklyn.
Broadcasting live from the AmeriGas Propane Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Cornerstone Tool and Fastener on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio, and yeah, still no higher. I'm getting antsy, man.
You're getting antsy or angry? Both?
I don't know. I mean, I know I'm overreacting. Everybody probably is. Damn it, I'd really like to know what we're doing, and I just think we're all a little off kilter after this. I mean, it's weird. Normally, we're in the midst of talking about what's happening at practice, what's going on in preparations for the bowl, what's going on in recruiting, of course, would be incorporated now and all that. But you'd be thinking to yourself about, what's going to happen soon enough, right? And you got none of that, man. It's going to make – we think the offseason is interminable most of the years that we make the postseason and have the extended time in which to talk about the team and watch them. Imagine how this is going to feel now. I don't know. I think what I find is odd is that I'm going to be more inclined to be locked in a way that I didn't anticipate. That the losing record did not lead to apathy.
It leads to an attitude towards auditing every move or what? That kind of thing?
Yeah, maybe overanalyzing things a little bit. We're just not accustomed to doing it. And I think if you look at it just amongst the fan base chatter, whether it's a message board or our website or our Twitter or email inbox or whatever it might be, I find that's where a lot of us are. I mean, I remember the sense of apathy I felt during the lost decade. Maybe not me on a daily basis because I was hosting a show, but I could sense it from the listeners, from Knowles everywhere. That was just sort of, well, we're kind of being held hostage here, to be truthful. Nothing's going to change. At some point, it just seeped in, right? That's not where this is. This is more desperation, more angst-ridden, a little bit more, I guess, highlighted in a way. Just sort of,
Well, I think what it does, the name Hugh Freeze right away, and the price tag that would come with hiring Hugh Freeze.
Yeah,
that's
ratchets
what it does.
up expectations and demands and everything.
Well, and it signals desperation is what it does. So that raises your heart rate a little bit as a Florida State fan, saying, "Really?
Well,
so
and there's
I
a
can be desperate, but
here.
you are? You know what I mean? That kind of thing."
Yeah, but don't you think there's a little bit of mystery to this too? I mean, listen, we've reported what's out there. We've cited sources, people who say, "Hey, Hugh Freeze was in town." none of that was confirmed. Like, I didn't come on the air and say I know definitively he was. I'm not saying he wasn't. I don't know. There's a lot we don't know. Was he ever a target? Is he a target?
The consensus is he's a target.
The consensus was that he certainly was going to be talked to. I don't know that, I mean, I think short of Willie saying, I want this guy, or publicly announcing that you're not going to do that. I get it. I don't know.
I think the consensus is he's a target. The question is, if there's a holdup, why? It sounds like it. Well, there were a few names.
There were
in
a
the
few
beginning.
names, right.
But,
and he was one of them. And he's the most high profile amongst them, so it stands to reason that's the guy that would be talked about. I just don't know that.
Territorial as everybody gets for all the information.
And they do. I got it.
And they all do a good job.
They all do a good job, and I'm not trying to certainly set up divides there. I mean, we're friends with a lot of the people on the beat.
But I don't think 24/7 War Chant or The Athletic or The Democrat or Tomahawk Nation, I don't think they're all coming up with the same name just because somebody reported it first and they want to have an article that has the title Hugh Freeze in it. I think they're all independently coming to a conclusion that this guy is, in fact, at least a high-profile, if not primary target of Willie Taggart and the Florida State football program.
I'm not questioning whether or not.
I left out you and your information. Sorry.
No, but I'm saying I don't disagree that there was something to the story that he was a potential candidate, or even that maybe he would be interested, or that the staff might be interested. I just don't know that he was the focus or is the focus. He's a name. He's a guy that you'd want to maybe talk to. But he may be one of 10 or one of 5. And those other guys, especially if they're not, and nobody would be as big a name as him, aren't going to get mentioned. And I'd like to know, like, if you were, you know how they always talk about athletic directors have their list, that they should have their list ready in case they have to make a change for any, for any sport.
Or presidents with athletic directors.
Exactly. Yeah. I'd like to know where that name was, on Willie's list. I'd like to know, was this
Sounds like it was near the top. I don't know it, myself, but that's what everybody's saying.
And I'd like to know if that's not, again, we posited this yesterday. Is that Willie or is that Jimmy Sexton, who's a mastermind of this stuff? I mean, he gets his clients' names out there and creates a buzz and plants stories and sends messages through sources. And, I mean, this is a guy that's really good at this.
If Jimmy Sexton is dictating to Florida State University who we should be talking to.
I don't think it's dictating. I think that these guys are really good at what they do in presenting things in a way that create a buzz that cause people like me and others to have these discussions. Almost like they will it into being. Speak it into being.
I'm going with the consensus that all these people are not lying through their teeth. That
I don't think they're
the primary guy.
Well, first of all, I don't think anybody was lying through their teeth, and I'm not suggesting that ever happens. What I'm saying in that situation is when you kind of run college football, you can do a lot of things to set up sources who then are going to go talk to these other people, and those people are going to do what you want them to do.
For me, I was hoping we'd talk more basketball this week because it was nice to get a break from all the negative talk about the football program. But what this does is it brings it back into the news cycle, and you feel like you're getting hit over the head again because in evaluation and talking about the improvements that are needed, you have to go back and remember all the things that were wrong. And they're just stacked one on top of the other. So my hope now, what I'm doing as a Florida State fan is I'm looking at the clock and I say, we are now in minute 20 of the Sam Howell official in-home visit. Maybe things are going well there.
Well, I think
maybe there are peanuts and pretzels on the
coffee table. I feel like we're
table.
a little bit off our rocker here on this thing with the way things have gone. Man, I find it odd that we care about what people or that there's an audience for what somebody is serving the coaches when they're there to talk to the kid. I don't care.
You saw the oxtail thing yesterday?
I mean, I'm not saying that I'm not saying it doesn't exist, the need for that or something like that, but don't you find that odd?
That's what happened over the years where it's like, what did they serve at this household? Or when Marvin Wilson committed to Florida State, he said that the honey fried chicken was nothing to sneeze at. It was like the best thing he's ever had in his life. So, I've seen the food takes before, but I've never frankly heard of oxtail before. And that's apparently the plural of it. The plural of oxtail is oxtail. I don't know. I learned more than I wanted to know last night. And this is the problem, though, man, because we have
You're
to
not
scour.
kidding, by the way. You're right. I'm looking at this on warchant.com, the Warpath, Coaches on the Road, Howell visit at 2:55 p.m., and then the breakdown.
Right. yeah, this is where we are right now. And the thing
not
that
a
sucks
good
is
place
what
to
we have.
be.
Well, we don't have to do this as our day job for recruiting, but we do have to pay attention to the offensive coordinator. So you're talking. I mean, you're more on Twitter than you've been because you have to be.
Yeah, because you
on
have
stuff.
To be, yeah.
Meanwhile, you're taking phone calls and all that kind of crap. I'm on Twitter all day, and it sucks.
Oh,
it sucks. I just wanted to talk about turnovers versus a 10 and 11 man rotation on the basketball team. That would have been nice. The UConn game coming up. That's a big one in Newark, but no.
Well, your problem is there are so many games in basketball, and we're now, in a place where we're so rarely at. I talked about it a little bit yesterday, that there's a sense of graduation, meaning that the program has graduated from being one that you think has the potential to get to the tournament to one that you know is going to get to the tournament, and it's a matter of seeding. We really are not that program. We haven't been for a long time. We had a stretch where we were pretty secure there, but it quickly went away. And now we've moved back to that place where I think it's safe to assume they're going to be a tournament team. The question is just how good a tournament team are they going to be? Now that we made a run, improbable as it was, but by getting to the Elite Eight and getting beyond the first round in back-to-back years, making yourself a team of significance annually now, and recruiting the level of skill that they do, you now make assumptions about victories rightfully and win totals, whether it's specifically identifying the teams you're beating or just a grand total, noting that, okay, by the time we get to this point, they better be able to do this, or they got to show signs that they're improving in this area. And it's not this grand mystery that it's been over the last couple of years, and that's a cool place to be. But because that's the case, when you're 7-1, listen, I get that the UConn game is an intriguing game. That's a name program. They're not what they were, but they're a name program, and you want to win every game you can, and we're getting closer and closer to the start of conference play. But admittedly, I go, yeah, we'll be all right.
Oh, this was nice. Talking about this, hearing your breakdown of why you don't think it's a big game, but still it could be kind of sort of a big deal.
No,
That's nice.
It matters.
That feels good to talk about that, because we're the 11th ranked team in the country. And
Damn right we are.
And what Leonard was speaking about in his postgame the other night after a victory over Troy was we got to get used to getting people's best shots. We can be a season maker for other teams.
Cool place to be. Don't disagree, but it leads to you and I on Wednesday going, do we really got to talk about the UConn matchup right now?
I guess we could talk more about Hugh Freeze and not letting
We've just done so much as a program, Tom, that now, damn it, I don't need to worry my pretty little head with UConn.
Is there a Dale Mabry clause in the Hugh Freeze contract?
That was actually fun. And just picturing even an SNL-type skit of the coaches sitting around before anybody can say a word. Willie looks down at his chart, looks at his regions. All right, let's start with, Tampa. We've done good. I got Tampa. Hugh, I think we talked about this. Now, hold on a second here. I want to vet this. So, Tampa, I'm in for the 8-1-3. Oh, Hugh, listen. We're going to need you to slow your roll here.
And that's, Hugh goes up to use the bathroom. They're going through their meetings, and then Hugh's phone. And so now Willie's got a decision to make. He's looking at it. He's like, He keeps going.
Let it go. Let it go, guys. All right, how about Polk County? Yeah.
And so he goes, all right, well, I'm going to have to at least put this on silent. And so he picks it up, and he sees 8, 1, and 3 for the area code.
Oh, yes. But, of course, he does.
And it's not a contact. It's just a number.
That's beautiful. It's exactly the skit we could just continue to develop and have a great time with. And then you would ask him, who called you?
David Kelly's in the other corner room. It's from Tampa, isn't it?
No, it was my wife. Oh, really? It's just blatant.
Don't save her name in there, do you? Were you looking at my phone?
No. By the way, started at noon today, goes on till 7 o'clock through the rest of the week. Florida State, the indoor tennis facility, hosted an event. There are 3 guys from Florida State playing in it. It's pros. And if you're going to go, it's free to the public. Should be noted, free to the public. I talked to Coach Holquist earlier today. This is an event we talked about last year at this time, too. It's great. You get to see some top-tier level tennis and some of our great players as well that are still in the tournament. But also they're doing something this year. If you're going to go over there, if you're looking for something to do and you want to see the tennis, again, it goes till 7 each day, so it might be a little late now. You can still make it, but if you don't go today, maybe go tomorrow. You should know that they're connecting with the Christmas Connection. and they're going to help folks benefit the Panhandle. And so if you want to bring a toy or something to help out there, that'd be great. Christmas Connection. And you could go over there. Again, the indoor facility for Florida State. You can see some world-class tennis.
The Tallahassee Futures Tournament, if you want to Google it, or just go to Seminoles.com and click on the tennis page under men's sports, and you'll find it right there.
Final hour forthcoming. Stay with Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
He has always loved the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill on Appalachia Parkway for its delicious food, cold drinks, and Vegas wall of 8 50-inch flat-screen TVs. Now, the Corner Pocket gives you a new reason to start off every week at the CP. Monday Night Mania. Enjoy 50-cent wings and $5 domestic pitchers of beer every Monday night from 7:30 till 11 p.m. That's right, 50-cent wings and $5 domestic pitchers as you enjoy Monday night on the gridiron. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill and Monday Mania. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
There's a price war in the insurance business, and you may be paying too much. Call the Term Lifeline right now and see if you can save 40%. $500,000 plans and up, that's our specialty. Even great smokers' rates. Protect your family today. Call the Term Lifeline right now for a free quote. 866-519-TERM. 866-519-TERM. 866-519-TERM.
We're completing our descent and will arrive in TLH shortly.
Oh, I'm so happy to be home.
Once we land, you can take off again with savings from the City of Tallahassee.
What do you mean?
The City of Tallahassee offers rebates for up to $300 in savings when you purchase energy-efficient appliances.
Wow, that would be a huge help.
The city also offers free energy audits.
What's an energy audit?
It's when an energy auditor comes to your home at the time that's convenient for you, examines your structure, and checks your energy and water systems. Then, they recommend changes that could save you energy, water, and money. The city also offers free ceiling insulation grants for qualifying customers.
Man, the city sure offers a lot of ways to save money. Once we land, I will check out all of the products and services the city has to offer. This makes me proud to call Tallahassee home.
Thank you for flying with us today. Don't forget that you can take off with savings with the City of Tallahassee. From rebates for Energy Star appliances to insulation grants. You can save energy, water, and money. Visit talgov.com for more information.
Truck and Car Concepts, we're your one-stop shop for tripping out to truck. Truck and Car Concepts, people with their cars, we're number one by far.
Great gift ideas are here at Truck and Car Concepts Christmas Sale Event. Backup cameras as low as $3.99. High-tech DVD players starting at $5.99. Plus a layaway program and gift certificates.
Truck and Car Concepts, we're your one-stop shop for tripping out your truck. Truck and Car Concepts, people with their cars, we're number one by far.
Superior sound systems as low as $2.99. Plus special pricing for custom packages at Truck and Car Concepts across from Kraft Nissan on Mayan Drive. See store for details.
Truck and Car Concepts, we're your one-stop shop, we always aim to please. Truck and Car Concepts, everything is here from A to Z.
Call 656-8800.
With football season in full swing, don't forget about fishing our local waterways after the games. Fish are still biting regardless of the score. Sea Quarters Marina, Carabel, Florida. Open 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. The marina has a ship store, which includes fuel, bait, tackle, ice, and all of your fishing supplies for the trip. Both diesel and non-ethanol fuel is available. Free Wi-Fi and pump out with boat slip rental. Sea Quarters Marina, 501 St. James Avenue, Carabel, Florida, 697-8400. Visit them online at seaquartersmarina.com.
Driving every day from the AmeriGas studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is 97.9 ESPN Radio, WTSM, Woodville, Thomasville, Tallahassee.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Doug Brown. The leading tackler for the New York Giants, linebacker Landon Collins, will go on injured reserve. That report from ESPN's Josina Anderson. Collins will likely need season-ending shoulder surgery. He had 96 tackles this season. The Carolina Panthers put tight end Greg Olsen on injured reserve today, ending his season. Olsen re-injured his surgically repaired right foot Sunday against the Buccaneers. When the new XFL launches in February of 2020, the league will have 8 teams. Those 8 cities announced today: Dallas, Houston, Los Angeles, New York, St. Louis, Seattle, Tampa Bay, and Washington, D.C. There's an NBA doubleheader tonight on ESPN starting at 8 Eastern Time. 76ers and Raptors up first from Toronto, followed by the Lakers hosting the Spurs. ESPN's Chiney Agwumike doesn't think it's realistic to expect the Lakers to be great this season.
At the end of the day, I think the Lakers are built for the long term, not the short term. Everyone wants to put pressure on them to win now. And when you have LeBron James, that is a real possibility. But I think we've also realized that LeBron James is not enough in the modern NBA. So it's more so a long-term push. Who's going to beat the Warriors? You need a team with 1, 2, 3, 4 superstars, 4 all-stars.
Chiney Agwumike on Golic and Wingo. Former boxing champions Donald Curry, Julian Jackson, and James McGirt will be inducted into the Boxing Hall of Fame next June. Also to be inducted, ESPN boxing analyst and longtime trainer Teddy Atlas. UFC President Dana White tells ESPN former NFL lineman Greg Hardy will make his UFC debut in January. Hardy will face Alan Crowder on January 19th in Brooklyn.
Broadcasting live from the AmeriGas Propane Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Cornerstone Tool and Fastener on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Cameron Show, at least 4 today. Thanks for tuning to it. I'm Jeff. That's Tom. We are online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you can go to listen live via the streaming free always. Don't miss anything. Hey, if you do, don't worry about it. We got you covered all 3 hours. Going to be posted upon the conclusion of the show on iTunes as well as in our own audio vault. Use the WTSM app as well if you'd like. It's free, don't you know? You can email the show if you want, jcs@979espnradio.com. On Twitter, it's at @JCameronShow. Hello, YouTubers, ESPN Tallahassee on YouTube. All right, so today, the way it went down, recap for everybody here. Sam Howell got visited by head coach Willie Taggart and David Kelly as they had an in-home visit with him today. It was originally scheduled for Thursday, so at this point, they're there, I guess, presumably right now.
Right now.
Yeah, right now, buddy, it's happening. What do you think they're talking about? So we'll see. I mean, most of the outlets, obviously, that cover this sort of thing, I'm sure we'll have something this evening talking about that visit and how it went. To be sure, you want to keep the commitment of Sam Howell if it's possible. If it's not, it's not the most pressing concern you have currently. Look, it doesn't matter who's playing quarterback. We found that out this year. If you can't block, you can't block. But you got to flip this roster as well. So recruiting right now takes precedent. Of course, it's on the mind of everybody in a different way than it used to be, with the early signing period being what it is. And of course, that comes to mind when you're talking about this as well as hirings. And we're in the midst of looking for an offensive coordinator. There's no doubt about that. There's no debate about that. You lost your offensive coordinator. He took the head coaching job at UMass, and so you got to find somebody. And as of yesterday at this time, certainly felt like Florida State was very close to maybe making a decision on that. A couple of high-profile names, the biggest being Hugh Freeze. We went back over Hugh's past and the baggage that he would bring to the table. We also noted that he is a very, very good football coach. That's inarguable. So I want to do that while not Art Briles, and that's a good thing. I don't want both my candidates to be the guys that you wouldn't want around.
Yeah, of Baylor fame, he's currently at Houston.
Yes, he was of Baylor fame, but yes, he is currently at Houston. You're right. And there was an article recently, and you did some digging, Tom. Credit to you. You've got some connections, oddly enough, with Houston, and you went and looked. We know $700,000 is what he's making now. It's over the course of 3 years.
Right, but the base salary is going to be, it kicks in next season, it's going to be $550K over the next 3 years. And the reason base salary versus the total number of compensation dollars is important, that's how the buyout is calculated for Kendall Briles. Now, the interesting thing here, without getting into too many details, is what the Houston Chronicle reported on for Kendall Briles and his buyout was, here's the total number if he leaves for another head coaching position. He could leave after next season and go take a head coaching job, and nobody owes Houston a thing.
Nothing, right.
But if he leaves before then, as in like right now, for another job, it would be 50% of the remaining salary dollars. What that means, bottom line, to Florida State is
what's the number?
$825,000.
Okay, that's what I care about.
That, as long as it's the same as it is for a head coaching vacancy, there might be some stipulations
in the contract
for to another place versus leaving as a head coach.
Or his strengths are. What does that do for you moving forward? Well thought of that other institutions are looking at them potentially to make them a head coach. A great job, or is extremely well thought of in terms of what he knows and his acumen for the game, then he's going to be a head coaching candidate. And you run that risk when you hire really great people. You want that. You just don't want it annually. You don't need a guy to come in, be here for a year, and walk.
Well, here's a theory, just as an answer to the obvious question of why would you bring somebody in for just 1 year if you know that there's a likelihood that they may go take the next big job that they can get if you're Willie Taggart. Maybe Willie wants to cede play calling for a year or two and then get it back, take those reins back when the program is in order, is in good shape. But he's got so much other stuff to do right now that we'll worry about that in a couple of years. But for right now, just give me somebody who can do day-to-day ops while I fix everything.
Well, I think that's part of the larger conversation that we've had regarding a willingness to do that, right? To take a step back and to say, I'll cede all of that for now because I've got bigger fish to fry, things I got to take care of, and that only stands to reason. That you'd want a guy to come in, get you righted, and then, okay, revisit the conversation.
Yeah, maybe it's something you couldn't ask Willie, because if you're doing that on the day that an offensive coordinator is introduced, he'd say, well, we hope he's here for 3 or 4 years. So he'd never answer that question, but certainly in the immediate term, everybody who has an ear or anybody who has a voice, I should say, in the conversation says that Willie is certainly wanting to delegate here. This is not a Walt Bell situation where it's kind of willy-nilly, half-measure stuff where he may call plays, he may not. The keys are yours. Go ahead. I've got to take care of everything from a bigger picture standpoint.
And if you're an offensive coordinator, whether you're a big name or maybe a little lesser of a name, but you aspire down the road to maybe be a head coach in the same fashion, same vein that Walt Bell did, and you've got a little time before that happens. You don't feel like your hair's on fire the way Walt seemed to be. And that's not a knock. It's something he really desired. Okay, fine. But here's the deal, man. You just have to know, you have to believe when that process is going on that they're going to right the ship, that they're going to get some people in here to block it up. Because if that's something you think is going to happen, and bottom line is this, do you have faith in Willie Taggart? If you're a potential OC, do you have faith that his past stops are evidence enough to you that he'll get this fixed? He has gotten it fixed everywhere he's been. So if you're just going by precedent, you feel good about that, right? All right, so he's done it in the past. He's had some bumps along the way, but he's always gotten it right, and usually he's walked away with the situation being much better off than the way he found it. See USF, see Western Kentucky, certainly, and actually, and oddly enough, in a singular year, see obviously out in Oregon. So if you think that's true, man, what a great spot to come, because skill positions galore, baby. You got young talent to mold and to utilize here. First of all, you'd have Scary Terry for just a year, true, but man, what a weapon to have in year one. And from there, we did well document our frustration centered around the fact that you had all of this talent, you just couldn't block long enough to get them the ball consistently. So, golly, especially if you find out you got this kid Howell coming in after all, man, this would be a very, very, very desirable job.
Yeah, I think especially by 2020 it would be.
Yeah. No, what I'm saying is you're part of the solution, just like you're pitching to a recruit right now.
Yes.
But
it makes you look better because we can only go up.
That's what I mean. And think about it this way, too, by the way. It's odd that any potential OC that you're asking to come to Florida State, and Florida State a big name without question. So if you think, okay, I think he's going to get it righted, and I'm going to be along for the ride here, and he's going to give me total control, so I'm going to get the credit. Now, I know they don't talk about that publicly, but believe me, in your living room talking to your wife or your friend or whatever it might be, hey, that's a big damn deal. I get credit for this. I'll have the pick of the litter if we go to where I think we're capable of going. Imagine now, it's interesting because the exact same things that Willie has to convince a recruit of, OC is doing with Willie in a way, a potential OC is like, okay, you got to believe in me. You got to believe in Willie. You got to believe that this is it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Right now, that's going on across both in the coaching ranks and in living rooms.
So you need a line, you need a quarterback, and you need a coach. But the order probably is line, coach, then quarterback.
God, our offensive line is so bad. It's the first thing that comes to mind the second we have the conversation.
Because Blackman looks like he could run a version of this offense just fine if we would block it up for him. I mean, DeAndre probably could too. So I'm not saying that I necessarily those are the guys I want as my quarterback next season. But, I mean, I think Willie was telling the truth when he said you don't have to be somebody like a Sam Howell, like a Khalil Tate.
Right.
You could be Justin Herbert, who's a little bit more of a statue pocket passer type, and it could work for you in this offense. And now Herbert can move a little bit, but
he's an
not,
athlete. Yeah, but he's not yet.
I wouldn't even put him as fast as Lawrence up at Clemson. Lawrence can move a little bit better than Justin Herbert can. But the point is, if you could block it up, there's a lot of quarterbacks that could work in the system, so it's not the primary need the way a coach is, the way the offensive line certainly is.
Offensive line remains really the most pressing concern on a day-to-day basis in recruiting. There's no doubt about that. I'll give credit Michael Langston noting that Josh Cooper, an offensive lineman, JUCO potential, noting that he will, in fact, be making a visit here in January. That's good news. Kadeem Telfort got admitted he's another JUCO offensive line candidate. We keep talking about you got to get somebody in here who can play right now. And, yeah, it's hit and miss with JUCO guys, but I'd rather have them than not. You need bodies. There's no doubt about that. He may be on his way, or he did get a visit, I should say, from Greg Fry. Again, that's from warchant.com and Greg Fry. So that's big news there.
We just need, as Knoll fans, a nice place to land so we can get a good night's sleep, you know?
MyPillow.com, the most comfortable pillow you'll ever sleep on. I promise you that. You fall asleep quicker. You get deep, restorative sleep that you've been missing out on if you're not sleeping on a MyPillow. And you snore less. Your wife, girlfriend, significant other will be happy about that, I tell you. And right now, the warranty extended all the way through March now. And it's a buy one, get one free special. So, given that it's a holiday season, you get yourself a pillow that you sleep on every night, and then you give lovingly to a family member, a dear friend. Hey, look, I got you a MyPillow. That thing Cameron's always talking about.
Merry Christmas to me.
MyPillow.com. Use the promo code 979ESPN. That's MyPillow.com. Promo code 979ESPN.
It's that time of year again where you get to shop for the naughty and the nice. Make it easy. Super Lube it with a Super Change card. Visit any of our 19 area Super Lube locations, buy 3 oil changes and get 1 free. And for a limited time, you'll also receive a free fuel system cleaner. Super Lube. It's quick and convenient, and you never need an appointment. Hurry in and get your Super Change card plus a free fuel system cleaner today.
How I love to Super Lube my car, lube my car. How I love to Super Lube my car. Yes, sir.
Thursdays are Friday Eve, and that's a reason to celebrate. No matter what you're looking for, they've got you covered every Thursday down in College Town. Centrale offers 50% off select pizzas all day, every Thursday. Or you can stop by Township for Taco Thursday. $2 house tacos, $2. Madison Social offers the Social Agreement. You and a buddy can split 1 order of wings, 2 Madso burgers, 2 bourbons, 2 proof Madison Socials, all for just $40. See what they did there? And don't worry about parking. Plenty of spaces available in the parking deck or surrounding lots. Check out all the Thursday College Town deals right now on ThursdaysInCollegetown.com.
In 1945, Jack Whitten started a glass company in Tallahassee. Now, over 70 years and 3 generations later, it's still working every day, doing just as Jack wanted, giving his customers real solutions for replacing window glass, providing custom-cut mirrors, and supplying superior bath and shower enclosures. Local building contractors know Whitten Glass takes care of Tallahassee business. They prefer Whitten because of their precision and mastery of eye-catching storefront glass and countertop glass. It's a fact. When you choose Whitten Glass, you're working with real glass people who will take care of you to your complete satisfaction. It's what Jack Whitten wanted, and it's been the Whitten way of doing business for over 70 years. Whitten Glass, Tallahassee's first family in glass since 1945. Call Whitten Glass today or visit them online, 850-222-5781 or whittenglass.com.
Hi, I'm President John Thrasher. I'm here with some of our outstanding marching chiefs. They've been invited to an incredible opportunity, and they need your help. Next June, the marching chiefs will travel to France and represent both the state of Florida and the United States at the 75th anniversary of the D-Day invasion on the beaches of Normandy. As both an Army veteran and the president of the university dedicated to student veteran success, I know what a meaningful opportunity this is for these talented musicians. But experiences like this can be out of reach for many students. So today, I'm asking for your support so we can send as many of our marching chiefs as possible to this monumental event. Visit give.fsu.edu/Normandy. Thank you, and go Noles!
I give to you
EU/Normandy.
Around the clock. Oh, buddy, this is a game changer. If you're like me, your life is hectic. Between work, school, your kids' sporting events and activities, well, it leaves you precious little time to kick back and take a load off. About the last thing you want to do is hours of laundry, but there it sits, staring at you, taunting. No more. That's right. More watching, less washing. Save hours of valuable time when you sign up not doing laundry with Easy Laundry service from Wash Around the Clock. Whether it's dry cleaning or just plain laundry, Wash Around the Clock's Easy Laundry service will pick up and deliver at your home or office. So sign up for free today at easylaundry.net, or you can give them a call, 850-597-9007. Again, sign up today at easylaundry.net. Oh, and by the way, I got you. Use promo code JCS20 and save 20%. That's promo code JCS20. You're saving 20% on your first order. That's easylaundry.net from Wash Around the Clock.
You're locked in with the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Didn't take very long, but and finally, people, we didn't get to address this the way we wanted to yesterday because we were caught up in our own local story about whether or not Florida State was considering hiring Hugh Freeze and was that imminent, and or whether or not they would welcome back Josh Ball into the fold, which I think is a poor idea, to say the least. I did in passing mention Urban Meyer's retirement. And I said, forgive us if we're not over here talking about how amazing it is they overcame the quote-unquote distractions of the season. And that's unfortunately what our employer did for much of yesterday, was talk about the many off-the-field distractions that led to the stress that led to the condition Urban Meyer was in on the sidelines this year, and how it was amazing that by season's end they had overcome all of that, save for a couple of close calls, and gone on to win the Big Ten title, and immediately shift gears into the larger conversation about where he stands in the pantheon of all-time greats in college football, as opposed to noting that he's been at two big-time college football programs and left them in shame and shambles to some extent. Now, Ohio State's in a good place right now, but by all accounts, this was something that they were hoping would happen, meaning they wanted a guy with that record out. What does that tell you? That guy can win those titles and be that great there with that all-time record, and they wanted him behind closed doors out. Yeah, it tells you exactly what you think it does. It just like the evidence while he was at Florida tells you that dude's a hypocrite and a liar. Now, I don't doubt that he has a cyst and that it's affected his health. I think certainly one could reasonably suggest that's brought on by the stressor that he helped create while ignoring spousal abuse from a staff member and then lying about it repeatedly. But I had a real problem with the way that story ran yesterday, because that part of the story was almost an afterthought. The stuff that went on before the season began, the suspension, how it happened, why it happened, how long it had been going on, how long one could rightfully presume he knew and chose to ignore it.
Yeah, I mean, he
tried 9 years.
He asked an assistant to clear his phone history.
Right. And that wasn't the focal point of the story yesterday. The focal point of the story wasn't the 30-plus arrests in Florida and all the things he ignored there while winning, the stuff that went on most recently at Ohio State, but rather just how often he won. And it gets back to why we're jaded as fans and cynical, because you know that it just takes a few weeks. Something that's hot on the presses now, involving a very real subject matter that should be discussed to a much larger extent as it pertains to college football, in this case, coaches, what universities' responsibilities are, retaining guys, when not to retain guys, what a legacy is, what it isn't, all that stuff. Really, you win enough and you play low a little while. That's where it'll go.
Yeah.
And ESPN did that yesterday. So did every other outlet. I mean, there were a few exceptions. I got to give Matt Hayes credit. He wrote an article ripping him. I saw that one. I'm not always a big fan of Matt Hayes, but he nailed that, talking about Urban Meyer's legacy. Also, what I agreed with from what I heard from any number of other people, which is something we speculated about for some time, he'll be back. He's going to coach again.
Oh, he said he's not going to, so that's the most sure I've been about this fact, is when he said that, yeah, that means he'll be back.
Yeah. The truth of the matter is here, a lot of people believe that, if he could do it again, if he has another opportunity, if his medical health will allow for it, and that's really where I think the urgency comes from here. He had to step away. Not only did they want him gone, and he felt betrayed, and you could see it at the press conference initially when he was suspended. He felt, how dare you? I'm Urban Meyer. You're suspending me? You could see that. The moment that happened, he was gone. He was done with them as much as they were done with him.
Oh, yeah. And the cameras caught that expression as it was forming and as it stayed on his face throughout, yes.
Yeah. He thought the whole proceeding was beneath him, and he was offended that they would even think to suspend him. But so this was always going to happen. That marriage was, in essence, over. And I'm sure Ohio State people feel a sense of relief, and he obviously wants to move on. Now, I do think the medical situation is real this time, unlike the faked heart attack. So I think in this situation,
I've never had pains like this before. Oh, this is the worst one I ever had, son.
Yeah, but this one I believe to be real. Because you would see him buckle over on the sidelines, just be running down the sideline and just buckle over. I got to believe there's something to this one. But that said, forgive us if we're not 100%, I guess sorrowful for his condition.
Yeah, the coach who cried heart attack.
Yeah, you're kind of like, Well, that said, you do begin to speculate, where would that be? Notre Dame doesn't appear that's going to be opening up anytime soon. Coach Kelly's got it going the way he wants it to go. Is it the NFL? I think that would be the final capper, right? Could you go and get it done in Cleveland?
When? This upcoming season?
Job's open.
What, he's just buckled over on the sidelines. You're telling me he's going to feel that much better?
He's going to rest up over the next couple of weeks. There are plenty of weeks left in this NFL season. Who knows? Maybe he has minor surgery.
I've never had pains like this before. Oh, this is the worst one I ever had, son. Oh, it's the worst one.
So, man, there's football to be coached. There are places that would like him to do it. There's money to be made, and you can only spend so much time with your family, Tom.
Yeah, well,
you must know.
My guess would be is he goes back to the old playbook and he takes a year or two off, whatever it was, the gap between Florida and Ohio State. If Notre Dame falls to pieces, they'll look at his history. They'll say, abuse, cover up, sign us up, no problem for us.
I was laughing when they did this, and I did give Matt Hayes credit here. I pulled this up because that part of the article I did want to reference, since we're talking about it now, is where does he land? Because none of us think he's retired. And if you think that he is a win-it-at-all-cost football coach and it will be back, well, you're right. Any number of jobs, writes Hayes, could be available for the 2020 season, and a year away from the grind will allow Meyer to get well. He's been dealing with an arachnoid cyst in his brain since the early 90s, by the way.
Oh, wait a minute.
It's not new.
Dude, so everything, though, you know what? This clean slate for Florida as well, everything that happened, the arrests, all of that stuff, he ignored. He forgot about them. The arachnoid cyst, of course.
Forgot all about it. He says forget about the NFL, that Meyer's rah-rah psychological motivation won't work on grown men. It will, however, work at the highest level of college football. But if you're USC or you're Auburn, he includes Florida State. Florida State's not hiring Florida's former coach, and they're not hiring Urban Meyer. But anyhow, or any other major program, as he writes, are you willing to sell your souls for championships knowing full well the future collateral damage? Do you hire a coach who allegedly hid drug test failures on the Florida sideline by having players wear walking boots so it looked like they were injured? Do you hire a coach who proclaims respecting women is his number one priority, but also allows star tailback Carlos Hyde to return to the team after just a 3-game suspension when video evidence showed Hyde slapping a woman at a bar? Do you hire a coach who did nothing after star player Percy Harvin attacked one of your assistant coaches while at the University of Florida? Do you hire a coach who had to visit a player's family in the middle of the season to make it right with them because he created an environment where an assistant, Smith, got into an altercation with a player, Trevon Grimes, after using a racial slur? Meyer doesn't lie. He just misrepresents the facts. He forgets them even after he does it. Hayes goes on to document what we know with all the stuff that happened at the University of Florida, what we all know about what happened at Ohio State and what he chose to ignore at both stops. And I'm glad somebody bothered to do it.
Well, good, yeah, because at Bristol they love him for it. They should have the Urban Meyer Rick Pitino show. There you go. Put them on after PTI at 6 o'clock. They could talk about motivation and doing the right thing.
You and I would love that show, though. I mean, that would be can't miss to see the one-upmanship that would go on about being a better leader while they're both just lying.
We welcome in a good friend of mine, Bobby Petrino. Bobby, welcome to the show today.
Well, by the way, the thought of that phone call being made from Patino to Petrino and now to Meyer, and the three of them sitting down, putting their brains together for a forum on leadership, perhaps a town hall on how to lead young men.
I think we should formulate this idea in Cabo San Lucas. Let's go for a week. What do you say? The warm weather would do you good, wouldn't it, Urban?
I do wonder, by the way, so if a guy wears out his welcome at Ohio State, which is what appears that he did here, and he did at Florida as well, and eventually
only after coaching another season, though. I mean, he was welcome to coach this season. If they made the playoff, maybe that welcome might have been extended
another year. Yeah. It reminds me that the two most prominent teams in the Big Ten have a similar problem. One just moved on from their problem, but there's a much worse problem, I would say, to some extent, maybe not character flaw wise, at Michigan, because the Urban Meyer problem came with a lot of wins. That problem came with a championship and a lot of Big Ten titles and an all-time great run. The Harbaugh problem comes with a whole lot of losses, every one of them to your rival, and nothing to show for putting up with the kind of lunacy, the special kind of lunacy that he provides every place he's ever been.
But you do get Derek Jeter and Tom Brady on signing day, okay, and trips to Venice, stuff like that, or Rome.
Woo! A lot of people thought yesterday was a day that, or 2 days ago was a day in which that man would be celebrating not having to deal with Meyer. But here's the thing that gets lost in all this: Ohio State is an institution that has been uber successful for a very long time with lots of different coaches. It's going to continue to be successful.
Well, I think what it does is it creates this as his last stand. If you lose to the day guy, right, making $4 million a year, and then that guy beats you, that's got to be the end, right?
That was a special kind of ass kicking. I mean, that was replete with expectation that probably exceeded any other matchup in the series.
Well, and that was in the shoe, right? That was at Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to go back to the big house.
You can't lose there.
A first-year full-time head coach.
Yeah, you can't lose.
That's it. You're coaching for your job right then and there.
You would think. I don't know, man. I used to ask that question. I did this summer. I threw it out there to Michigan fans, like, "Hey, where are you at with this guy?" I can't get a feel for that. Because again, he was a legend there, a player. That's his school, but they don't win important games.
What did you hire him for? The whole point of it.
Yeah, without question. And also, he's the kind of guy that when he sees the writing on the wall, he too takes off.
Right, like if the Bucks were interested in him.
Oh, no.
You wouldn't be interested?
No.
In taking that phone call?
No, I don't want to deal with him, no. Okay. He wears out his welcome in a way that's really...
in the NFL, you're going to go through these cycles in a salary cap era. In college, I'd rather not be left in shambles because it takes years to get over, and you can get passed by your rivals and all that stuff. But in the NFL, it's a salary cap league. You're built to be 8-8, but he can get you with fewer parts to great heights very quickly.
Yeah, I don't know how that relationship would go, but maybe it would work out well. I'm not sure. I do like that at his core, he wants to run the football and throw off a play action, But if you look at Michigan's offense right now, and I brought this up a couple weeks ago, it's antiquated. They don't really do anything special at all. They're the easiest team in the world to stop. I mean, they'll out-athlete some of the slower teams in the Big Ten on the regular. There's just not enough talent there with those other schools. But they look like they're in, molasses. They're in quicksand, and they run the ball twice and throw on third down.
Well, the interesting thing about that is that he went to Kaepernick, which was the new age of offense for a time. He built that thing up with 3 yards and a cloud of dust.
Yeah.
But then in order to put him over the top...
It's like, we got to get somebody to stretch the field here.
Right. Well, somebody who could run and all that kind of stuff, too.
But Kaepernick didn't run around a lot. Remember when we first saw him? He had a big arm. We were like, man, that is a cannon.
Yeah, but he would use his...
he would buy time.
Yeah, but he would call design runs on zone reads and things like that, and quarterback sweeps and powers and things that would keep you off balance.
I just thought primarily the thing that made him... because Alex can do that. So, to me, it was about the bigger arm. And he did a good job of utilizing that. He got him out of the pocket, but he threw the ball well. When Kaepernick first hit the scene, we forget. That was a big arm, and it was noticeable.
Oh, we thought it was Michael Vick with an arm.
Right. Yeah, but then...
With an more accurate arm, I should say, because Michael always had a good arm.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting, though, again, and it's proven constantly, I think about that discussion now, and again, aside from the controversy, surely he should be a backup quarterback somewhere in the league. We all get
always. That was never. He's better than McGloin or Josh.
Oh, you can go on down the list.
Josh Johnson.
Yeah, there are a lot of guys that he should supplant. Yes, without question. But at the same time, what we also recognized was the league adjusted to him, and he turned out to be average to below average. He turned out to be not a very good player. He's just a good backup. Where he should be in the league now. He's get that.
Probably a top 40 to top 50 quarterback. Without
question. Yeah, which means you should be in the league.
You should be absolutely in the league.
Yeah. But anyhow, it's interesting. My point on that is that when people adjust to your system and to your skill set, man, it's a remarkable deal. The NFL is quick to do that. Defensive coordinators are quick to figure out what you can and can't do.
The fascinating thing, though, is that college has truly graduated to the NFL, the way the offenses are going now. Because what guys are used to running at quarterback and all the positions, offensive line. Most offensive linemen are used to running spread systems, and now you see it. There's so much variety at the NFL level.
Yeah, and it's a real problem trying to find elite-level offensive linemen that can come into the league and do the other stuff that's necessary in a more wide-ranging offense, right? And to be able to sit in their stance and to do those things for longer periods of time. And you talk about the dearth of good, consistent offensive line play. You get that some, but a lot of the guys, the big complaints in the league right now are guys coming in and not being capable of the other stuff.
I can tell you it always comes back to the Bucs, because how does this benefit me right? Yeah. How does it benefit us most? Watching Jameis execute that RPO on Saturday had me thinking, ooh, we could hire anybody. That looks natural. That looks like that fits quite nicely.
It makes me think I wish we'd find a quarterback here. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Those guys are always fun. Had a good conversation in the hallway with Keith and Tom. Well, now it is all eyes on what this class is going to look like. When is signing day, Tom? You'd think the afternoon sports talk show host would know that, but
the early signing period is December the 19th. So that's the first big day. Yeah. And then it's February is obviously the regular day.
Yes, it is. I just kind of hold my breath with the early signing period. Just because for all of our conversation about an offensive coordinator and which guy you wanted, you want, you have to have, and which guy is right and all this, one thing we know, and we talked about this, and a lot of players and certainly coaches know this, that's a little bit of an overrated sort of, debate, right? Because here's the deal. There are a lot of good football coaches out there, and the ones that rise to the level of being able to get paid certainly six figures and more in the Power 5 conferences and non-Power 5 conferences. Hell, you look over at Kendall Briles, and he's making $700,000 and a year. They know what everybody else knows. I mean, they know a lot about football. That doesn't happen. You don't ascend to that level because you don't know football or that you can't understand, certain offensive philosophies or defensive philosophies and certainly different ways of implementing those. All these guys know that stuff. I remember talking to Jimbo about this one time, and Jimbo, I've said this, for all of his strengths and weaknesses and everything in between, Jimbo certainly knew football, the origin football, the history of the game, why certain concepts marry and why those others don't, and what you're trying to combat with certain looks defensively. And it was always fun to get into these conversations with him. And he would say, well, any coach that you go talk to at where you could name your school, name an SEC school, name an ACC school. Well, they all know this. It's how you do these things, how you implement these things, how you teach these things, how you, from play to play, go about the process of calling these things in-game, creating a rhythm, all that stuff. But as far as the fundamental knowledge, they all have it. They all know. They could all go to the whiteboard and draw up those plays and tell you where they came from and why. And Jimbo was, fond of mentioning that. And I've had other coaches say that too. Like, oh, yeah, there are coaches who are better at it than others. There are guys who have a greater depth of knowledge and instant recall than others. That's true of all walks of life. But in terms of the basic understanding of all these principles, they all have that. They could walk into a room in front of other coaches and lay it out on the whiteboard.
It's probably something like comedy at that point. Everybody knows
timing,
jokes, but timing, only few master the art of timing. Yeah.
Timing's a big damn deal. Delivery, as a talk show host, I'm always interested in delivery. Not in copying delivery, but hearing people's deliveries I find fascinating because there's an art to it, and you have to find what works for you, and it's obvious when somebody hasn't, and it's obvious when somebody has, and it's obvious when somebody's very unique in the way. Like, listen, a line on a sheet of paper is read differently by everybody who looks at it, and Christopher Walken certainly delivers lines with a very unique way of speaking. Right, there's his rhythm is different than that of anybody else's.
You'd be damned.
Right, the emphasis on certain syllables doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
and it's fascinating, and it's very unique to him. So why do I bring this up? Well, I think it gets back to this. You don't have to hire Hugh Freeze and the baggage that comes with him, and you don't have to hire Kendall Briles. You don't have to hire anybody in particular that certainly sheds a poor light on the school or inherits and forces them to inherit negative PR. That said, they're all good coaches. But what you really have to do is win in recruiting right now. What you really have to do is get better players in here. What you really have to do is flip your roster. So when I sit around at the end of shows or in show or when I'm home at night thinking about the situation at Florida State, I'm caring less and less about the name that we end up attributing to this, whoever the hire is, whatever it might be, and more about How well are you doing filling needs and flipping this roster? Because the best coach in the world makes his way to Tallahassee. It makes no difference if that offensive line is what you're trying to win with. Doesn't matter. Anybody could be here. Anybody. And, you could bring in Kyle Shanahan, and you'd be in a world of hurt because no plays work when you can't block. It doesn't matter how they're called, the rhythm in which they're called, the order in which they're called. All that stuff doesn't matter. Style, none of it if you can't block. And that was really the resounding truth of this year, right, was they tried a lot of different things.
Yep.
They just couldn't block.
Well, you need a couple of things out of the hire. It's the ability to get some kids to say yes. You need somebody who can coordinate day-to-day operations because for all the gray area about where Walt Bell's job ended and Willie's began when it comes to coordinating the offense in practice and then obviously calling the plays on Saturdays this last month, whoever was in charge of organizing things sucked at their job.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody's got to come in here and be better at that. So there's a lot of things that this new hire needs to have, and it doesn't necessarily have to be cachet that commands a $1.5 million salary or something crazy like that. It could. Maybe that person fits for the price. Fine.
Sure, yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go get somebody for $1 million. There are a lot of $1 million hires, $750,000 hires when that was the big price tag. Remember when Jimbo wanted a new defensive coordinator after Mark Stoops left, and he wanted to spend gobs of money on some candidates out there before we settled on Jeremy Pruitt. Well, some of those hires worked and some of them don't. So it's got to be a smart hire and somebody who can make us look like we know what the hell we're doing when we line up pre-snap.
That's for
and then
sure.
can get the big kids to say yes to us.
Yeah, it's a big part of it. The recruiting aspect in college is so much different than in the pros, where you do talk an awful lot about the X's and O's and your ability to teach it and implement it quickly and call it on the fly. In college, there is that added element of, can you recruit? Can you really recruit? Because at the end of the day, you got to have the Jimmies and Joes. The X's and O's take care of themselves when you have those kids. There's no doubt. And so you are taking into account, whether that's a name or not a name, what those connections are. What region of the country do they excel in?
Well, and Willie's a master recruiter, but a head coach can only do so much. Most of the communication is electronic because they got to come to you. Or phone calls, but they got to come to you on campus. Then you only get a visit every so often.
Right.
One when you're talking about winning time right now. You only get one in the house, so you could be as compelling as hell. But even Jimbo needed Eddie Gran and James Coley at his side to go flip the hell out of this roster, or DJ Elliott or Mark Stoops, who had pipelines in Miami area. I mean, they divided Broward and Dade, and they went for the kill in South Florida.
Oh, without question.
Because he had a bunch of stone-cold killers. Now, did he have a master plan that he learned from Nick Saban, and does he have an eye for talent? Absolutely, Jimbo does. But still, man, you got to have some people who can go out on the ground and execute because you only get one shot at it. They'll get several.
Jimbo got lucky, too. He had the head start. He got to double dip.
Right.
When he was the head coach in waiting, he could go and do all these things.
Be in the living rooms and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's right. And then he got to do it again as a head coach, right? So that really helped. There was the benefit of that system. I think too that you're trying to find some stability right about now. You don't need to take a guy that is, and this was an area of concern that we had with Walt Bell. And to Walt's credit, I think he made it abundantly clear that he was about bettering himself on the ladder to success. Right? It was about, hey, I'll be here 2 years, 5 years if I need to be, or one. I mean, when I get an opportunity to be a head coach, I'm going to go do that. That seemed readily apparent. And my fear about that at the time was, doesn't seem likely that it's going to happen after 1 year, but it certainly could, and he struck me as the kind of guy to take it.
I think he was honest and transparent in that regard, but I also think that while he was saying the right words about what his job is, which is to make Willie's life easier, the actual day-to-day implementation, he didn't follow through on it as well as we would have hoped.
I agree with that. Clearly, there were a myriad of problems, some of which would fall at his feet. What specific ones, we don't know because we're not there every day in practice, but something was wrong.
But if you come here knowing that the offense is Willie's show and then you
get upset about it?
I mean, well, what did you expect,
Yeah,
dude?
that's disingenuous if that's what happened. And we don't know. There's rumor out there that they didn't get along as well as maybe they could have, and that he realized somewhere along the way, hey, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. I got to get out. But there have been too many, and I want to bring this up too because for all of the moments in which it looked to be in disarray and the frustration, which is certainly understandable, you just look at a track record. That's all you got is a man's track record. And you don't accidentally go 10-2 at USF if you don't know what you're doing and you can't organize. You don't build a program, take over a program that is in the outhouse, and before you leave, win 17 of your last 20 games and get propelled to a Power 5 job at Oregon because you just didn't have a clue. That doesn't happen. And when his starting quarterback was in place at Oregon last year, they were good. They executed. They didn't have a myriad of problems. They put up big numbers. They won games. So that's not a happy accident. You don't take Western Kentucky from this division to the highest division in football and say, I'm going to take over a program that hasn't won a game in 20 straight and then navigate those waters to where they get to come up a notch to FBS, to FCS. Which is it?
It was FCS to FBS.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. I had it right the first time.
You actually elevate up the alphabetical ladder.
Yes,
Go figure.
That makes sense. So anyhow, FBS. Yeah, you don't do that if you don't have a clue. Those things matter, So when people say, what gives you hope, his record isn't great all time, and, I don't see where there's a light at the end of the tunnel here with as discombobulated as things looked. Well, his track record tells you that he does get it fixed.
His track record tells you that typically in year one, everything is discombobulated.
Yeah, that in year one, he's taking over a mess, and it still looks like a mess. And then it doesn't.
He's not a quick fixer.
No, it's not a quick fix, no.
He's not Winston Wolfe.
I was going to say that.
Sorry.
It was easy, but you're right. And I almost did it, and then I went, nah.
Well, I'm more than happy to take Winston Wolfe. He's cool.
There's somebody wrote something recently about that it didn't make any sense. Like, why was he out at that time of day in a suit? Why was he in his...
he was at a party?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in a hotel room sitting on a bed taking a phone call.
Yeah. Didn't make sense.
In normal traffic takes 20 minutes to get there. I'll be there in, whatever it is. Yeah.
Well, get better players. I'm getting back to something here. Coaches matter. They absolutely do. But in this case, the culture is fractured, and you don't have the right kids that are tough enough mentally and physically to get the job done. So this is of far more importance to me is watching how we go about the process of recruiting right now.
It was first thing in the morning is when that happened.
No, it is first thing
because,
in the morning.
your boy Tarantino's having coffee.
No, that's what I mean. That's why they were saying it didn't make sense. That he's
at an all-nighter, I guess.
I guess so. Because he comes in his suit.
Yeah.
A tuxedo, isn't he?
Oh, and there was commotion when he took the phone call. Yeah, so they were at some sort of...
They were at quite the soiree.
A little bit.
So that tells you something more about Mr. Wolfe.
Well, but it's clear also
he attends those kinds of parties.
He does, but it's also clear that he doesn't drink or partake.
He partakes in something. Who can stay up all night at his age?
Winston freaking Wolfe. That's why he's worth so much money.
Oh, man. All right, Front Row Knowles, forthcoming. Stay tuned. It's a great show. I always like to listen to it. I shall on my way home. Good work out of you, Tom. Good work, Matthew. And we'll talk to you later. Later, just an ambiguous later. Maybe tomorrow, maybe not, maybe Monday, probably Monday. Somebody's like, damn him, he's taking days off. Quick, go to the message boards.
John Gardner.